To the JESS MARSHALL podcast, and once again for the second straight week we are live, and this week into the studio I have the distinct honor and privilege of having a Dallas legend, MMA OG Guy Mezger in the studio. We're going to talk about everything from what it means to be a man in 2023 and where are all the good men, or where are all the good women. How about if you try being a better person and attracting a better level of person? Why don't you try that idea on for size? Thanks for joining us. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the JESS MARSHALL podcast. Wow. Mark that swipe. Bring it. Man, I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure.
It's
been a while since the last time, huh?
It's kind of crazy how time flies.
Yeah. Well,
you got some
cut
years.
those things off.
Well, you got some years on me, but is it not weird when you get to the end of the year and it's just Christmas again so fast?
Well, this year particularly, I mean, well, actually, the last 2 years have flown by rather quickly, and not with like I say, with not a lot of not a lot of like, man, I had that killer year, you know what I mean, and
Sure.
stuff like that. So, I mean, I think I can't speak for everybody, but I just know me personally. It's been kind of a coasting couple of years, and I'm tired of being coasting, you know what I mean? So this year is going to be a standout year for me personally. I just know I'm getting focused on doing bigger and better things.
When you're an athlete, a premier athlete, and you're in a fight camp building up to a big fight, you have all your effort, everything you're doing, the way you're sleeping, eating, drinking, training, thinking, everything is all focused in on one target. Then you step away from that and then go into civilian life. Whether you're a fighter or I was a rugby guy, was there like a little bit of like aftershock for you when you were like, I'm retired, or that was my last pro fight, and you're trying to kind of figure out how to live like an intentional life still, or was that something that came naturally to you?
That's a good question. I think that I can't speak for everybody in the fight business. You know what I mean? I just know that, like, for me personally, okay, so I gravitated toward athletics because I had self-esteem issues, and I grew up, like I said, we discussed this in the last time. I grew up a poor kid, and the one kind of thing that everybody recognized of me, regardless if you were rich, poor, whatever, was that I was a good athlete, and I was a good athlete at just about any sport. I mean, I was a 4-sport letterman my freshman year in high school, and I went to a 4-year high school. And
what were those for?
It was swimming, track, baseball, and football.
Ah, swimming, really?
Yep. And
which one of those 4 did you like the most?
well, I liked wrestling the most, but I didn't letter in wrestling, which was interesting, right? Because I went off to college on wrestling, and most people know me as a wrestler, because of my, I'm such an advocate for wrestling. And I didn't actually, the reason I didn't letter, or probably the main reason I didn't letter, was the guy in front of me in my freshman year was a senior, and he was a state champion wrestler. And it was actually a blessing to me because even though I could never beat him, I came close a couple of times. I never beat him. Training with him is what made me the champ the next year, and the year after that, and year after that. So, so it was actually kind of a blessing to have that experience.
Is that something that got imprinted into the frontal lobe of your brain then right away as you're starting to compete as a young athlete, that, wow, when I train with someone who whoops me about every time, and you got close to beating him, but is beating you, that maybe you started to gravitate toward that later as your fighting career started to progress, but then also in business, do you take that in like, I'm going to get around people who are better than me because that's going to make me better?
Yeah, I mean, you would think that I would be a little bit more focused on that as a project, but yeah, I don't. I mean, I think I do that naturally. on how things. I wouldn't say that I sit down and go, okay, this is somebody that we would be a great coach all the time, But yes, I do seek out certain individuals when I'm doing different projects that are going to be able to take me to that next level, or they're the missing piece in something that I need to get done. And the thing that I think that most of us the thing as we get older we do is we become less sure of ourselves, being unsure of things. Meaning, like, when I was a younger guy and I didn't know what was going on, you know what I mean? It'd be like the coach would be like, hey, wait, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but hell, I'll figure it out, right? You know what I mean? And I think as we get older, we become a little bit more cognizant of the fact that we don't know what we don't know, and that sometimes puts a hesitation in us, which is a shame, because that's just making you old. The fact of the matter is like, you need to still take challenges on as if you're a younger man. If you're, you got to take that, I believe you need to take that kind of kid's attitude to stuff. Like, my son's a prime example. Even now, he's obviously a lot more cognizant of who he is, because he's a 17, almost 18-year-old boy. And they tend to be obviously very self-conscious about stuff. And he is self-conscious, but he still has this kind of this like, hey, I'll give it a shot type attitude, and which I hope he never goes, and I hope that never goes away for him, because that'll get him farther in life than anything. Being in the question of things is better than having the answers.
That's a great quote. And it is kind of the fountain of youth to always be seeking adventure. Maybe it's the fact that our ego, as we age, we get older, our ego has figured out what to avoid to survive. When we're younger, I don't know if it's just, especially if you're a young dude, man, I was just restless all the time. Yeah. And my parents would be like, here you go, and just kind of point me in a somewhat constructive, like in that direction. Like I could do the least amount of harm to other people if I went and smashed into that. So they'd be like, why don't you run over there and then you just do it. Maybe as you get older, well, we talked before we went on live about, not trying to improve as you get older too, that you just sort of sit in what you know, and you don't try. You say you want to lose weight, you say you want to get richer, you say you want to have a better relationship, but then your actions don't match up with your words.
Exactly.
But you had wisdom behind that too, as to why people don't match their words up, just because they're afraid of the effort or afraid of the unknown of, well, what would it take? What would me getting in shape in 2023 actually look like? Not next New Year's, but like every day or every week or every month, I have to do this in order to accomplish this bigger goal. And you probably are coming across people all over the place who are like, man, I'm coming to see you at Monster in January. And maybe you're thinking in your mind, well, let's start right now.
Well, when I hear that, what I basically, say is, all right, see you in January. But knowing that, majority of those guys, that's not going to be the case. You're right. I literally get, everybody, I run into somebody, oh my gosh, it's been so long since I see you, look great, blah, blah, blah. I want to get in shape. I want to talk to you about coming to see your clinic, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, great. Here's my card. Knowing that most of people aren't going to do that, and it's a shame, because, the thing about it is that there is no standing still in life. Now, I hate giving bodybuilding any kind of credit, and if I hurt bodybuilders' feelings about this, it's not you guys personally. I just think the activity of bodybuilding is kind of silly, mainly because they bust their ass. I mean, the worst bodybuilder busts his ass at a discipline level, which most people don't have, and they do it, strictly to be involved in a beauty pageant, basically, and so for me, it's like, I'm gonna put that much effort in, I've got to get something a little bit more out of it. You know what I mean? Meaning like I've got to be stronger, or I got to be faster, or I've got to be a better fighter, or I got to be something for the effort that I'm going to put into it. You know, because not that I can't be vain, because I can be extremely vain, but it's. I'm not so vain that I just want to lift. You know, that's my goal.
No just for men there either.
No.
Which I respect, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna catch you this year. I'm gonna pass you this year.
Yeah, my hair is slowly but surely gonna be
looking
almost,
good, man.
Yeah, it's almost all gray
Yeah.
now. I look through it.
I know. It's kind of crazy on the lives. Sohail, we have this huge monitor and it's looking right back at Guy. It was last week we had Leo on. The dude has trained hyenas, pumas. He's trained wild hippos. And he was like, "Can we take that down? That's fucking freaking me out."
I didn't realize it was showing the.
No, it's all good. So you're talking about being vain while you have 60 inches looking right back at you.
Yeah, and you know, some people enjoy that. I tend to be a little bit more critical. I'm like, yeah, man, I missed some spot shaving.
Yes, that's why I don't shave.
No.
You know, when you're talking about fitness, though, if it's vanity that drives you.
Maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
to a certain degree, but it shouldn't be. I mean, what should be your motivation is the fact that you need to be goal oriented on what's going on, and if your goal is just to look good, that's fine too. But the fact of the matter is there's no standing still. There is no. In you know, if you think you're standing still, you're just sliding backwards slowly. All right, that's it. And depending on how good a shape you are to start with, will be how much you're sliding back as you're standing still. And so there really is no standing still. You're either swimming against the current or you're going with the current. Now, it might only be a little bit at a time, but that's just the way it is. And like I said, with bodybuilding, I hesitate to give it any kind of acknowledgement on certain things, but there's a lot of very smart guys in there, man. Very, very super talented scientists, to be honest. I mean, he
absolutely
understood the science of building muscle and stuff like that. And I think it was Mike Mezger who said there, "If you're not growing, you're dying," and he's true. It's right. If you're not moving in a positive direction, then you're moving in a negative direction. Now you may be moving in a negative direction slow enough that it seems like you're not going anywhere, but that's because you're treading a lot of water. So there's nothing without the effort, and so there's no real taking it easy. And as the older you get, that's a problem. You know what I mean? With most of us.
Do you ever struggle? Do you ever think in your mind like, man, I wish there was an easier way to build this business. I wish there was an easier way to stay fit. I wish, right? That always
of course
crosses your mind. But then immediately are you just like, well, there isn't one. This is the way.
I mean, that's actually my job. My job is to find the most practical way of maintaining your health and it's a segued a lot. Like, I work with a lot of athletes and stuff like that, a lot of professional athletes, mostly football players and professional fighters. But it's, the information, the nice part about working with those guys is that they allow me to gain a certain perspective and information that you couldn't get working with the normal population. Working with the normal population, it's hard because the results aren't the same. They take longer. It's like, when you're working with a patient and you're dealing with somebody and you're like going, hey, and you explain the real life that, hey, there's going to be some changes, but it might take you a year for you to get where you want to go. And you could see them deflate, oh my gosh, a year, like this, because they buy into this bullshit about these, these hacks, fitness hack here, fitness hack, 18 weeks into, 18-inch arms and stuff like that. It's bullshit stuff. That's just not going to be true. But we want to buy into it. We want to believe it. We want to, we want to do that because, it's like a whole year, we're going to wait, like that time. And I'm like, and I explain to people, you plan on living that year, don't you? Or you plan on dying? If you're not planning on dying, stick with me for the year so you have a good year at the end of that year. You know what I mean? If you're planning on dying, yeah, go do something else because you only got a year. Go do it. You know what I mean? Because you're going to do this. And so, the fact of the matter is like, we have, we're, in a society that just has, we don't even need to, we don't even need to shop at the grocery market anymore, right? Why? Because I can literally get most of my groceries delivered to me by just making a list of stuff, and Whole Foods, and that's with Amazon and everything, they'll deliver my groceries to my house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and so I don't even need to do that anymore. And so, the fact of the matter is like, we have, we have to fight a certain amount of laziness and stuff that has perpetuated into our society, more so. I mean, and it's going to affect our health. I use this example a lot, but it's just a true example. Like during World War II, we didn't have special forces. About the closest that we had to special forces, we had kind of two units. We had the airborne unit, which was new, but again, the airborne unit is not even considered a special forces unit today. It's just you learn how to jump out of an airplane, right? But that was new. And then, of course, they had the Navy divers. And the Navy diver program eventually led to the Navy SEALs. But the Navy diver program in World War II was where they went after the mines that were blockading the D-Day. And so our Navy, so we had a special unit of Navy divers that went in there and knew how to disarm them. But that's the closest we came to special forces. We didn't have Delta Force, we didn't have Rangers, we didn't have SEALs, we didn't have the MARSOC and all these other guys that, things that we do because we didn't need it. Because we had a bunch of hard dudes coming out of the Depression. Most of these men were born in the the turn of the century. In and around the early 1900s, and they lived through the Depression, and they were hard, tough men.
Yeah,
and we didn't need to have special.
They didn't have perfect nutrition either.
Yeah, well,
or a gym on every corner.
No, they didn't need to because life was just a tougher existence. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
So and they created a tougher man, and the problem with that is that. Every year that we've had more success in as a country and stuff like this, we become softer as men, and and we have to be vigilant against it. I don't sit here and try to I don't badmouth our kids and stuff like this because today they talk about kids today being late, all this kind of stuff, and I'm thinking. We weren't exactly. I mean, I was an '80s kid. You know what I mean? And we act like we were like some kind of, tough, pioneer woodsman or something, but we weren't. We were a bunch of assholes too. And but we did get things done. And so the thing about it is that we're having a hard time with now is that we're a little bit softer people. Our military's a prime example. We need special forces units now because they do majority of the fighting. They do the engage in most of the high ops and stuff like this, and they're involved in that kind of stuff. And we need that kind of soldier today because because we don't have the soldier of World War II.
Yeah, Tim Kennedy. I mean, he's do you know him?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously got MMA roots, and often when he goes on podcasts, he makes a point because he re-enlisted, if you will. Obviously, helped out a bunch with the Afghanistan bullshit here last year. The military brought him back in to help with recruiting because they're having such a hard time finding qualified personnel for the teams.
Yeah.
He talks about this like almost dearth of talent. This isn't just physical though. This is also you have to have this certain mental bandwidth, obviously, to be able to withstand adversity. Don't you think? Wouldn't you agree that the problem right now is that technology has made living so easy that we have to manufacture adversity pretty often, or it comes for us when we don't expect it, whether it's depression or whatever. It's something's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that's without a doubt. I mean, my kids, like I said, I grew up in a much tougher upbringing. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't a bad one; it was a good one. I mean, I could tell my story about how I had to grow up, and and most people would look at it as, oh man, how hard it was and all this other stuff. And the reality is, yeah, was it hard, but it didn't kill me. And I had a, to be honest, I mean, out of my entire family, of brothers who grew up not having anything, I'm kind of the screw up of the family. You know what I mean? And I didn't do too bad. And so I think that we've made everything so easy and everything so that we literally have to find problems. I literally have to throw difficult situations in front of my particularly my son's life, right? Because he just didn't have to grow up like I grew up. You know what I mean?
Have you and your wife had to make conscious decisions, or did you discuss before you started building the family, like, hey, we're going to be able to, especially you, I don't know your wife's backstory, but hey, I'm going to be able to help these kids out the way I didn't get helped out as a young. I'm going to give them more opportunities, but we have to be really conscious about not overdoing it. Because like I literally don't have any friends that come from like generational wealth that are strong-minded people. I have
not
friends,
often,
but show me a good man, and then show me that his son is a good man. I mean, there's a quote out there somewhere that they don't exist. Like, a great man doesn't often have a great son, whether it is Marcus Aurelius or Winston Churchill. I mean, there's usually a drop-off there when the kid gets everything handed to him because they don't have to navigate through the types of things you had to navigate through as a kid. Or they're, like you said, you're putting things in his way to help him build character and to help him get the certain like life skills that he's going to need to be able to fend for himself when things get hard. Is that something you and your wife talked about when you were starting the family out?
Not really talked about it. It was just, I mean, I just understood it, I demand a lot out of my kids. They need to make good grades. They need to be an active part of our society. They need to be working when they're not doing stuff. They need to be active in athletics or something like that. That's going to, be occupying some of their time. It's not like I'm not a harsh disciplinarian at my house. I'm not, because that didn't really work with me, with my father and stuff like that. And so I just don't see it working with my son or anything like that. But there's an expectation that I have for my kids, that they need to meet. And that expectation's pretty clear for them on what's going on, about respect and about work that they're going to do. And, and I can only arm them. As well as I can, as well as I believe I can. And after that, they got to figure it out on their own. I mean, I figured out most of my life on my own, and I'm not saying like I did as a genius, man. Listen. When professional fighting, age 20 years old, and your life is so fucked up that professional fighting actually looks like a good thing, then you're pretty fucked up. And so I'm not going to say that I did anything right, because I did most of the stuff wrong. The difference is that I had a desire to be better than I was, and I was also, I had a determination, you know what I mean? I mean, there was, the one thing that I will safely say that, I had more than anything was like, I wasn't going to be, I was going to be a somebody. I mean, that was important to me. My life, I was told most of my life I was going to be a nobody. And, and if I had $1 every time I heard that kind of bullshit news, and stuff, but I wasn't going to be that. That wasn't going to be me. And so my life was focused on being extraordinary. Now, that's a lot of the reasons why I did athletics, because that's one thing I was good at, and I was, exceptional at. And it just happened the fact that I was able to develop a skill set that I could make money at it, as a career. And, it wasn't like it was a super planned thing, it wasn't, everyone always like this. No, it was, like I said, I was not doing real well in life, but I was determined to do better. And that just happened to be my vehicle.
when you had someone tell you, you know, Guy, you're never going to amount to anything, man. Yeah. You've got no pedigree, or you've got, you know, you're whatever the reasoning was that they told, whether it was a teacher or a coach or a peer or a friend's parent. Was that automatic bulletin board material for you? You're putting it on the whiteboard of the locker room of your mind, and you're just like, fuck you, every time it gets hard, you're working out harder because of that?
Yeah, I mean...
So you had a chip on your shoulder from a very... Yeah.
I mean, my problem, you know, the problem in life, or not the problem, but one of the problems, one of the issues was, you know, to be honest, was I was, I carried a chip on my shoulder. And so, you know, there's a certain degree of, negative, reinforcement that is actually can be positive. You know what I mean? I mean, because, I would continue to fight, or I'd continue to do stuff in spite of the fact that it didn't look like good for me, or it didn't look good because I wasn't going to quit. So it taught me that, that type of a mentality of like, I'm not, first of all, I'm not going to let other people dictate, my success. And I was going to be, like I said, I was going to be a somebody regardless of what the, what the evidence looked like at the time. And that's really what it came down to, it just came down to the fact I just, was going to be, like I said, I was going to be a somebody.
Were there things that healthy habits or winning habits, other people might not look at them as healthy, whatever, that you started setting up as a young guy? When you looked around at your competition, you said, well, I know so-and-so is not getting up at 5 and doing this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's an old saying about like that, well, why Mike Tyson used to get up so early, because he get up early because he knew nobody else that he fought was getting up that early. It wasn't necessarily that for me. It was just the fact, like, it was interesting because in and around about 25, 26 years old, I literally stopped being angry about shit. And I'm not sure what it was. It wasn't like I had some kind of,
like epiphany or something?
Yeah, it wasn't like I had some kind of like, yeah, I mean, obviously I had something. I just don't remember what the hell it was. I just woke up one day and I realized I'm not angry anymore.
Was it that maybe, I obviously didn't know you then, but was it maybe that in looking for an edge and looking for a way to win all the time, you realized that when I'm mad or when I hate or when it just spends energy on shit that's not going to help me win and not going to help me get to my goal? Was it that pragmatic in your mind, or was it really literally like you woke up one day and you just...
I wish I could say I was that pragmatic at that age. No, actually, I don't even really know what was going on in particular. I just realized one day
I envy you, my friend.
Yeah, I just woke up, and it's not like I wasn't angry about shit. I mean, I was. But I was a lot less angry about shit. And, and my life wasn't, and it was interesting because I had to kind of change up how I looked at and did things, because instead of my life doing stuff in spite of what someone told me to do, it's like someone told me, hey, you don't need to go down that road. I'd go down that road just because they told me not to, right? Sure. You know what I mean? And so when that went away, when that kind of challenge or perspective went away, I had a lot of, to be honest, I had a lot of soul searching to do. Is what was my motivation, and what was what is that? And I realized that everything that I had wanted to be, I wanted to be a somebody, was still way within my reach to do it. I just didn't have to be an asshole about it. Oh. And that's really what was the main difference. I think people saw me as a much nicer human being in my mid-20s on versus my earlier years. I was a little bit more, rough.
Were you hard to coach?
No, it's easy to coach
because you wanted to win.
because I wanted to win.
So we're going to work on this technique, and you're going to do it 1,000 times. You'd be like, I'll do it 2,000. I don't care. I'm doing it if I got to do it.
I was a guy who could
Oh,
figure
you got
it
it really fast?
Yeah.
Really?
I can figure it out. You show me how to do it, I can do it. And that's always been a gift. And, yeah, do I have to do it 10,000 times still? Yeah, because 10,000 times is what it requires for you to make, if you're making $1 every time you do it, you got to do it 10,000 times to make it $10,000. So, it is what it is. But, the problem is like, we get settled into doing the same stuff over and over again as if we're doing something new, and we're not. We're just doing the same thing over again. We might put on a different T-shirt, but it's still the same thing we're doing. It's just you're wearing a different T-shirt. And so the thing about it is like, I think with I think as I get older, the difference is like I can see those patterns of futility of, just continuing that I'm really not doing work. I'm just doing busy work, and stuff like that. And you get trapped into realizing it. And then you're in the middle of the thing, you do, you go, man, I got, like this. And so I think the problem with a lot of us, and it's still, like I said, this is still a problem for me, is the fact that you get caught up thinking you're getting stuff done that you're not really getting anything done. And so you're mistaking being busy for getting stuff done, and it's not. It's just you're just checking a lot of stuff off a to-do list. It tends to be you tend to look at some of your to-do lists like this. You tend to make shit up in order to have a to-do list.
So you have stuff to cross off.
Yeah, so you have stuff to cross off.
Being fake productive.
Yeah, and and that's that's not a good thing. My wife, who is an amazing human being. I mean, she is the most productive person I ever met because she just settles down and gets stuff done, and she makes no excuses and stuff, and she thinks and it's a lesson I can learn from her. I watch her go. My wife is a bit of my hero because she has just done an amazing job with her life, an amazing job with her work, and my wife would be like, she's the start of an after school, special. I mean, we she had our son Jake when she was 18 years old, and she was, again, that's the start of a disastrous life for most people, they an 18-year-old mother, and, her family's not wealthy or anything like that. And, but instead, everyone always says that I should write a book, right? Because I've had some adventures, and I've had adventures. I've had I have some amazingly great stories, right? But the point being is like, my book would be entitled "How to Be a Complete Fuck Up Most of Your Life and Still End Up Marrying Like the Most Amazing Woman in the World." That would be my contribution as a real book. You know what I mean? Versus my wife, who could how to have life stacked against you and still become a champ. And because she had life completely stacked against her, and instead of this, she's not. She doesn't have. She had her associate's degree, but she never got her past that, and. She is an executive for Palo Alto Networks. She's like 5th or 6th in line for CEO of Palo Alto Networks, which is the 800-pound gorilla in the IT business. She's an amazing person, and she's, she started, in the IT business as a simple salesperson. You know what I mean? Wow. And now she's like one of the most sought off channel managers. Headhunters call her all the time, wanting her. Hey, let us know when you're going to do this or that. And she busts her ass. And so, I look at her and I'm like, I'm more people look at the stuff I've done. I'm talented at fighting. I mean, God just made me that way. And I'm not sure why, because I don't like hurting my fellow human being, but I'm good at it. And so it's like when people talk to me about being good about what I do, that's like rewarding a freaking dog for barking. It's in their nature. My nature is to fight. You know what I mean? I'm good at it, I believe that I'm a I'm a defender. You know, I have a very strong moral code. It's my own moral code, but it's a very strong one that I won't step on. And you know, and I'm gonna, you know, and I'm gonna defend that, and I'm gonna do that kind of stuff that's gonna make me, right? But that's just in my nature, right? That's in my nature. It's not nothing. It's nothing to be like I should be that overly excited. You know, because it's like
it was already there.
Yeah, it's like you don't teach a dog to bark. Dog already knows how to bark. You don't sit there and go, oh, hey, great, the dog learned how to bark. No, he knows how to bark. All right, it's in his nature. And so, you know, the things that I find really, you know, admirable is when you step outside of your nature. You know, and you step outside of the stuff, and you still do things. You know, you you know, you know, one of the things that is not easy for me to step out of my nature is to be, you know, more passive on certain things. There are certain things in life that you fight, and there's certain things you don't fight. For me, everything's a fight. Everything's a fight, and you know, and I will fight over stupid shit stuff. Doesn't need to be fought over, you know, just because it's my nature. And probably the greatest thing that I ever learned was not to be like the greatest fighter I've ever seen is my wife, who doesn't fight at all. Wow. And you know, and because she'll know when to make when we're going to go to the wire on this and when not to go to the wire on this. She's much better at that than I am. And, you know, versus me, my immediate nature is to confrontation. And if I've learned anything, that life does not have to be a sense of it doesn't have to be a series of confrontations. It doesn't have to be. Are there times you're going to have confrontation? Yeah. And it's good to win them. There's no doubt about that. But by and large, you can avoid most any kind of arguments, things like this, by just taking a deep breath, stepping back, and seeing what, you know, what's going. You know, the thing about it is a lot of people don't see other people's perspective at all, and I understand. I don't understand certain people's perspective, but I respect it. Like, you know, a prime example is, and some of the thing is like, you know, is our gay community, right? You know what I mean? And there's such bullshit going on now in the communities of stuff. You know, we're trying to be more accepting, and then there's this backlash of trying to be accepting. You shouldn't be this. I look at it like this: it's like, I don't understand being gay. I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, you know, I love women, like everything about them. They're just amazing, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, and so I look at it like that. And so I don't get it. I don't get that aspect of it. I don't get that. But I respect the fact that you might do it, you know? If that's your thing and you're not hurting anybody, I respect that. That's fine. You know what I mean? And I don't have to convince you that I'm right, and you don't have to convince me that you're right. There's certain stuff that we just don't understand that we have to accept. You know what I mean? And that's a huge problem. What's going on in our country as a whole? We're arguing about shit that we just don't need to be arguing about. It doesn't matter if this guy likes to like a guy, or this woman likes to like a woman, or if this guy likes this woman. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? You know, as long as they're not hurting anybody, and then, you know, and they're doing their stuff like this. So the problem is everybody feels, you know, and on the community side too. You know, it's like, you know, like my gay friends that are like, you know, if people would understand, I go, they don't have to. They don't have to understand you. They have to respect you. There's a difference, but they don't have to understand it, because I'm never going to understand it. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do I understand love? Absolutely.
Right.
Do I understand companionship? Absolutely. Do I understand what it is to have to want to have a life? Do I understand what it's like to want to spend my entire life with somebody? Yeah, I found that in my wife. You know, I don't have to sit down and understand why I do it all the time, even in my own life, right? You know, and so I think the problem is that, you know, we are so desperate for everybody to understand us and to accept us. There's a difference between having respect and being accepted than understanding stuff, because you're never going to get it. I'm never going to understand that aspect of somebody's life, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay if that's what you want to do. I'm okay if that's what you don't want to do. All right. And the fact is I don't necessarily have to understand it, because I probably never will. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot of people who think that fighters are not evolved. Like, we should be past that now. We should be progress. You know what I'm saying? And
we might be. There may be an argument for that, but yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think we would have a lot more war if we didn't have organized sports and fighting and things like that. I think it's just sort of in the human nature. But you do have to say, well, I don't understand what drives you, but I 100% respect your. That's sort of what this country's supposed to be about too. I'm going to cancel you, Guy, because you've smashed people in the face, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that, you know, I think that, yeah, I think you got a value absolute argument there. Is like this, is that, you know, I can understand certain aspects why people don't like violence. And if you're a non-violent person and you are against violence, then I respect the fact that you don't like what I do for a living. I've never had a problem with that. I've had plenty of arguments, or not arguments, conversations, I would say, because I don't argue with people like that. I've had plenty of conversations where people just don't get, you know, why I'd want to do that. I'm okay with them not understanding it. I'm okay with them not understanding me. I'm even okay with them thinking that I'm a little bit of a Neanderthal, you know, because there's nothing, you know, because I can understand where they're coming from on that aspect.
Dr. Neanderthal.
Yeah. Well, I also believe like this. Here's my belief. I think I'm a Jordan Peterson's belief in the fact that, you know, the fact of the matter is that a good man is a violent man who doesn't create violence. See, when people aren't capable of great violence, you know, I mean, people, you know, I've walked away from situations where I could easily crush people, and I'm walking away because I'm doing them a favor. It's not doing me the favor. You know what I mean? And that makes me a good man. Now, if I couldn't do anything about it, that doesn't make me a good man from walking away from that situation. It makes me a weak man, right? It makes me incapable. If you are incapable of great violence, then you're harmless. And then being harmless doesn't necessarily make you a bad man or a good man. It just makes you harmless, right? And so the fact is like, you know, the thing about that's always been kind of like that mega American thing is our ability to, you know, be good-hearted people, but also be able to defend ourselves.
Yeah, walk quietly, but carry a big stick. Whatever Teddy Roosevelt said.
Yeah, TR used to say that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe probably did more as a sitting American president than any of our other presidents. Some people say he did more than all of them combined because he just started doing shit like putting together the national parks and pulling the country out of depression and creating an economy where there wasn't one because he was like a true American man.
Yeah. Oh, well, Teddy Roosevelt was an amazing human being.
He was a bully. He created football too. You know, he went to a rugby match in San Francisco and he was like, "No, we ain't doing this anymore. Line of scrimmage." Like, he's credited with
I didn't know that.
Turning rugby into football. Yeah. You know that today is the birthday of rugby?
No, I didn't know
12/22, 100 years ago or 105 years ago. Yeah, little fun facts.
Wait, Jess, did I totally missed that. Did you say your birthday is today?
Yeah, it is, man.
Happy
Capricorn,
birthday,
bro.
Jess.
Oh,
Wow.
thank you.
Today's your birthday?
Yeah, I don't really put it
Happy
out
birthday.
there. It's now all the way out there. I don't really know why. I figure
Well, you
once you're
said
past
it during the
16,
last
if you're a
pod.
dude,
You don't do birthdays?
I just think it's kind of soft to do birthdays, but
I don't know. My birthday's January 1st, so
is it really?
it's always
So were you in the paper? You had to have been in the paper.
Oh, Houston. Yeah, I was a Houston baby of 1968.
A New Year's Day.
Yeah.
You said before we started shooting that you'll have gals come, like maybe you'll be at a gathering or something, and they say to you, Guy, man, where are all the good men at?
Oh yeah.
And you'll see or hear guys say that, or maybe you see that on social media like I do. A lot of bitching and complaining right now about like, oh, women, they all want the handbags or the Mercedes, and I'm sitting over here going, dude, like just fucking like you and what you said before we even went on is what I just got done talking for an hour about before you got here. Was like, how about this novel fucking concept? What if we treated this whole mating situation as what it really is in nature, which is a contest? The best female is usually attracted to the best male and vice versa. How about instead of I'm looking everywhere and pointing it, it's your fault. You go on Tinder when we get in a fight, or you're all about materialism. How about if instead I made myself into the absolute premier edition, the best that I could possibly be? I wring every drop of potential out of myself, which takes me every day doing shit I don't want to do. How about if instead of blaming everybody else because, oh, my love life's not what I want to be, and where are the good women, where are the good men? What if you just looked in the mirror for a second? You started talking about that before we went on, but that's your opinion, isn't it?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, here's the problem. The problem with everybody is that you are perfect and everybody else is a mistake. All right, and and everyone's like laughing at that one. No, but that's really what you think. Because here's what happens: is that you will conscientiously go, well, I know I'm not perfect, and we say that because if I say I'm perfect, you're gonna
you're a narcissist.
Yeah, I'm gonna be blasted. Right. So the reality is that I want to let you know I'm perfect, but hey, I'm really not perfect here. So I know I have my problems. And then you get, but. And the moment they say that, everything they just said was complete bullshit before that. And so the fact of the matter is like, I use my wife, my relationship with my wife as an example, because, there was some changes that had to be made, in my life. And so, I was not in a particularly good financial place where I was in life or anything. I was dealing with some pretty crushing business, deals that were going south. And my wife wasn't, particularly doing good in business at the time. And we'd been friends for about 4 years before we, even considered dating. And then one day, she walks in, I always had kind of a crush on her, because my wife is freaking gorgeous. And I always had a crush on her, and everything. And so I hadn't seen her in about a year. And then she walks into my gym and we started talking a little bit about stuff and stuff. And then later literally that weekend, I was out, and her and her girlfriends were out and about, and they just happened to see me. And it was back in the day when I was kind of hooked up with all the nightclubs and everything on Greenville Avenue. And so they were like, hey, you think you can get us into the candle room? I said, sure. So, I jumped in the car with them.
Got to wear dress pants to get in the candle room back in the day, man.
Well, unless you're me, but no. Yeah, unless you knew somebody. And so, but anyway, so I took them there, and she just hung out with me, right? You know what I mean? And I took that as a sign, like, maybe she's interested in me and stuff like this, and she and I had a feeling was because she took all her girlfriends home and she took me back to my car was the very last thing to do. So I was like, all right, this is thing, and literally, she's like, we're talking, and she's like, hey, maybe we should go out sometime. And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so later like 2 days later was a Jimmy Buffett concert, and I was like, if she don't like Jimmy Buffett, this relationship won't work anyway. So I took her and a couple of girlfriends to Jimmy Buffett. But the key is that like I would ask her out. I asked her out, and after that a couple times, and so we started hanging out almost every night together. And so I would go over to her house, and I'd hang out with her and Jake, older son, and we just hang out. And then when it got time for Jake to go to bed, he'd go to bed, and I'd leave, and I would literally for 2 months, I either like kissed her on the cheek or give her a hug or something like that. I didn't even try to kiss her romantically, and the reason being is that I knew she needed a different man than the man that I was. It wasn't like I wasn't a good guy. I was the same fun-loving guy I am now. But the difference is that I had to be able to, it's not in relationships. It's not always about like you being a good guy. It's about what that person needs. Now, that person may need a good guy. That person may need a bad guy. That person might need a person who can dance a certain way, or whatever the life requirement is that this person needs, that has nothing to do with whether you're a good person or a bad person. There's a lot of great people. In fact, most of the girls I ever dated were amazing human beings. They just were not perfect for my marriage, right? You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with them. They're beautiful and they're smart and they're creative and they do amazing things. And I'm friends with all of them, right? You know what I mean? The one thing, but I wouldn't have the relationship I have with them as I do with my wife, right? And it has nothing to do with the fact they're not good people or bad people. It's just what it was that Guy Mezger needs, and that Michelle Mezger needs, right? And so. So what we do is, instead of this, it's not about you being understood. It's about you being understood at a level that they get you, and that's what they need, right? And so with Michelle, I knew what she needed. She needed someone to be committed, you know what I mean, and not screw around and not be this. Well, hell, I've been Peter Pan my entire life. I mean, to be honest, I mean, people like, oh man, no, I was a screw up most of my life. I just happen to have a skill set to make money, right? You know what I mean? And it made me a lot of money, right? And so here I am, doing this, living a life, and when plus the fighter's life is not a life that teaches you a huge amount of responsibility, at least financially. And so, I'm sitting there having this incredible life, you would think, but it's not making me happy. I'm not married. I'm not a kids. I'm not this. So, so here I am, faced with the situation with this amazing woman, and I knew she was into me, there was no doubt about it. My wife was into me, but was I going to be able to be committed to her in the way that she needed to commit it? She needed a partner. She needed someone that was going to be right there, toe to toe with her, going through the trouble, raising kids, making life, happen. And she needed a partner for that. Was I going to be that partner? You know what I mean?
And somebody who's not going to tap out when it gets hard.
Absolutely. And willing to make that change, willing to step back and go, you know what, you're not perfect.
What is it that we think other people think of us that they don't think of us? Like we were talking about that a little bit earlier too. Like when you first met her, you knew there was mutual interest there. Was she thinking something about you and you thought she was thinking something totally different? No. Did that have to do with like your internal mental monologue, which you tell yourself, or
I don't know about that. I mean, I was pretty sure we were
good to go.
Well, it was like, I had to figure it out. You know what I mean? Really what it came down to wasn't whether or not she was good enough for me. It was whether I was going to be good enough for her. Right. Because it really came down to the fact that I can't screw up. She's got a kid. She's got all sorts of stuff going on in life. She doesn't need me fucking around being my normal Guy Mezger who's going to sit there and be charming and sweet and stuff like that, which I'm really good at. People say you can't make people fall in love with you, which is bullshit. It's easy. You know what I mean?
How do you make someone fall in love with you?
You just figure out what their tics are, what things they like, you know what I mean? And you pay attention to that. Most people aren't observant enough to figure it out. That's why they can't make anybody happy. Me, on the other hand, I observe everything, okay? That's one thing about the fight business I'm really good at. I can figure out why I can tell if you're right or left-handed when you walk up on me, I can tell all kinds of stuff on somebody because I pay attention, all right? And the fact of the matter is, you pay attention, you will figure out what it is that this person needs. Now, you got to figure out whether or not that's still, is what they need who you are or who you can be, or is it not? And that was the difference. And then really what happened is that my wife, was wondering what, she probably was thinking I was gay or something because
2 months, man.
Yeah, because I didn't do it. But literally what happened was I was teaching Jake how to wrap houses because he never wrapped a house. I'm like, oh, I was a master at this stuff. So I passed on the
That's funny.
the skill set that is a lost art today, the lost art of wrapping houses. So I took.
What is wrapping house for people who don't
people,
use that term?
That's when you take toilet paper and you decide to take it and paint another person's house with toilet paper, and there are trees and there.
How old was Jake when you taught him how to wrap a house?
He was 12.
That's funny, man.
He needed to know how to do that.
Was this at like 2 a.m. or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, in the middle of Highland Park Village. Middle of Highland Park.
What's your technique? You got to take the roll in one hand and hold the tail with the other, and then do the lob method, or?
Actually, that wasn't so much the skill set of it. Was just having the stones to get up there.
Ah, yes,
and,
yes.
Sure. And wrap this person's house when these people are walking around and in front of you in the house, and they don't realize you're out there doing that.
That's funny.
And so I taught Jake how to, him and his buddy, took him out there. And as we're driving back, all right, guys, I was trying to explain to them the whole man code about not ratting me out to mom, because of course, as soon as we get there, they're giggling. Michelle goes, all right, what's going on? We wrapped the house. I'm like, thanks, guys. And so she thought it was kind of cool, funny idea. And so she goes, well, let's go wrap another house. So we went in there, and so the boys.
That's awesome.
So me and my wife and the boys wrapped another house, and then they decided they wanted to wrap this other girl's house. So they wanted to do it by themselves. So I drove them over there. And for some reason, I thought that was the best time to romantically kiss my wife.
So you're a master of timing.
Yeah. So for some reason, that was the good timing. And it was an amazing kiss. It was literally a kiss that froze time.
Well, and the timing of it is probably something you guys still joke about to this day.
Well, she kind of kids me a lot about.
Yeah.
Because, so the following week.
I'm sure you wanted to kiss. It's not like you were too nervous.
No.
You were just.
I just was not going to blow it.
Were you doing this cost benefit analysis in your mind of like, can I be what she needs?
Yeah.
Because she's that worth it.
She's that amazing.
That I can set all of this BS aside and I can be who I know I can be, but who it's going to take discipline to be that person.
Yeah, it's just,
So you made a competitive decision there, just like you would make if you were getting ready for a fight. To win this, I have to make this sacrifice.
I mean, it's a commitment. It's somebody who that it's who I had to be.
Do you think you would be the man you are today if you would you ever have made the decision to make those changes for yourself, or did it take meeting this next level person for you to be like, okay, I'm ready to make these changes?
I think everything's motivation. I think everything is about timing, about motivation. I think it just was in the fact that where I was in my early 30s. I was tired of where my life was going on doing stuff. And again, most people look at my life as if it was a freaking fairy tale. You know what I mean? I'm living a rock star lifestyle. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I didn't have amazing people and women in my life. I did, you know what I mean? It's just that, this was different. And so what ended up happening about actually 10 days later, we had consummated the relationship, so to speak. You know what I mean? At this point, we had the romantic kiss and all this other stuff. And then so I was sitting there, and we were laying around talking, and she sits there and tells me that she's got this job in Atlanta, and that she's moving back. And she's like, don't worry, and she's like, don't worry, we can make this relationship work. What she doesn't realize is that those don't work, that it doesn't work. Because I had a relationship with a woman who had her own jet airplane.
Damn, son.
And we couldn't make it work. Right, so, and I explained that to her. She knew this girl.
Those
Jennifer.
Texas oil women, man.
Yeah, she's a New York girl, but yeah, but so what ended up happening was we're sitting there, and I was explaining to her like, hey, Jennifer. She knew my ex-girlfriend. Right? I go, we couldn't make it work with a long distance relationship. And she had her own plane, so I mean, this is not something that's going to work. I said, we're just going to have to do this, and my heart was broken. I literally couldn't sleep that entire night. And so I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I went back to my apartment, thought about the entire freaking day about this, because I was like, my heart was broken because I knew it wasn't going to work. So later that night, we were at this book signing thing. A girlfriend of hers wrote a book about yoga, and she was getting it signed, and so I was, standing in line with her. And I literally just couldn't take it anymore. I looked over at her and I go, all right, I know this is not the appropriate time to say this, but I can't. I can't take this anymore. I go, you can't go. I said, if you leave, okay, our relationship will be over. And I go, I know this sounds crazy because I just kissed you 10 days ago, but I love you. And I think I think this is it. And I go, if you leave, then we're never going to know. And so I'm going to ask you to consider staying in Dallas so we can try to figure this out. And she was kind of crying and kissed me and said yes. And 3 months later, we were engaged. And 6 months after that, we were married. Or 5 months after that, we were married.
That's very assertive. And when you and I talked last week, when I stopped by the gym, we were talking about this weird toxic masculinity thing going around that everyone's talking about.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell that is.
I don't know. I think it means different things to different people.
Sure.
But, being a leader, being a protector, being someone who's strong, being someone who's capable of violence but doesn't use it, being someone who's driven, ambitious, assertive, like you told her, look, I'm willing to go all in on this. Please don't move. Please consider staying here.
Yeah.
Those are all very masculine traits. Those are all things that, women that I've been attracted to would be attracted to those types of traits. Those are traits that I have carried in the past as well.
Yeah.
Have you ever... do you take a look around when guys come to you and they're like, dude, I just can't get it right in life? And just say, dude, it's just time to start making some decisions and fucking taking action about those decisions. And if you would do that, things would start to fall into place for you. Not because you're some Gandhi, but because that's where you were at in your life and you saw her, you made a decision. Then she kind of comes out of left field with "we're moving," and you were like, don't do it. Please don't do it. Let's make this happen. I mean, that's an assertive move. That's a very manly, masculine, head of the household move. And she was probably waiting for you to say that.
I think to a certain degree, she was. I don't know what was going through her mind. You know what I mean? To be honest, when you look like my wife and you can have anybody you want, why the fuck she want to pick me is... it begs to be, answered correctly.
But it's those,
it's
those attractive qualities. Like a lot of people call those alpha male qualities, and then you have like some woke people out there saying there is no such thing, even in the wild, as an alpha. I forgot to ask my guest last week because he knows a lot about wolves. Like, is that even true? I mean, you know what it's like. You get around a bunch of dudes and they.
Yeah, there's a pecking order.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a pecking order. There's
women
no
pick up on that, though, do they not?
Everybody picks up.
Right.
Everybody picks up on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a situation like this, it's like dealing with certain individuals. They're weak, and just by having their conversations with them, they're weak. You have other people that are, that have strong personalities that carry the day, so to speak, I think the problem. I think the problem with this toxic mentality or whatever like this, it's the same bullshit that people project in what's going on. People are afraid to be fucking real. That's the problem. They're afraid to be real because they feel like they have to everybody puts a mask up. We all do. All right. Trust me, when I'm in certain social situations, I tend to look a little bit more intimidating than other ones, just because it's easier for me to deal with the situations that way when people come to me in hat in hand versus coming to me demanding. Right. And I can project certain energy, which is going to create, one or two of those responses, right? And so the fact of the matter is like, I think the problem that we have is that we I think a man needs to be good on his word. I think what makes a man, and a woman too. It's not that that's exclusive. I'm just saying this tends to be a male quality. It's not that it's exclusively male, but it tends to be some of this. But a man should keep his word. If a man says he's going to do shit, he better do it. If he doesn't, then he better be the first one renegotiating why he didn't do it, right? And I think the mistake that we make is that everything that we have in our society today is temporary. Our word is temporary. Our relationships are temporary. Our marriages are temporary. Fuck, our children are temporary. You know what I mean? We sit there and we think, oh my gosh, we're gonna with kids, and and then they moved away, and well, you know what? My kids, when they move away, I hope they come back. I hope my kids at 22 years old, when they're in college and stuff like this, come home to steal the toilet paper and the food and do the laundry and do all that stuff. I hope at 30 years old they come home because mom's still cooking their badass breakfast for them or something like this. I hope at 55 years old, when that they're there and they want to listen to their 80-year-old father who says, who's probably still difficult to deal with, but the fact of the matter is like, the toxicity comes from the fact that there is no substance to what we're doing.
Is that because people they're not real because they don't even know who they really are? Because
I
they
think
just get blown around. They look, oh, this is the new opinion of the people. I'm going to go that route. And then that changes over here. And they're so afraid to get canceled and stand on their own two fucking feet that it's just, well, I don't even know who I am, so I don't even. How could you ever expect to complete a relationship if you entered the relationship with a beautiful woman or with a manly man and you didn't even know who you were because you'd never been through shit, because all you do your entire life is try to avoid pain at all costs. And so when it comes to being, hey, be real, you don't even know who that is when you look in the mirror.
Yeah, well, that. Again, part of the situation is like, with I think what a lot of people see, a lot of the toxic male, is that they see these guys that are the big thing with the kind of like the macho guy that it used to be. It would be the guy that's doing the steroids, wearing the Affliction T-shirt. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone remember the Affliction T-shirt? That was the.
Have you ever worn one?
No. Believe it or not, no.
Did they come after you ever? Would they ever try to sign you?
Oh yeah, well they used to give me the T-shirts away for free all the time, and stuff like this, and it was and again, there's nothing that's necessarily wrong with affliction, so to speak, but, generally when you have that Affliction T-shirt on, or the tap out one, you're a pretender who, this, and you were people would be like, oh my God, Affliction. Oh yeah, I'm a cage fighter. Cage fighter, it always cracks me up because that you hear a guy call themselves, like, they don't really call themselves cage fighters anymore, but that was the term back in the 90s. I'm a cage fighter, and that's the same thing as when you hear the guy goes, I'm a Golden Glove boxer, which is the fun that cracks me the fuck up. There's no such thing as a Golden Glove boxer. Like this, but guys will sit there and argue with you all the time and go, yeah, I'm a Golden Glove boxer. And I'll look at them and go, what does that mean? Golden gloves. Yeah. What do you mean? But what's a Golden Glove boxer? Well, Golden Glove boxer. There's no such thing. Oh, you mean you're an amateur boxer who competed in the Golden Gloves tournament? Is that what you're talking about? Because that's would be the proper term. Nobody in the boxing world calls themselves a Golden Glove boxer. So if a guy calls himself a Golden Glove boxer, he's full of shit. All right, just so you know, just so your audience knows. Next time your buddy tells you he's a Golden Glove boxer, you can say you're full of shit, and Guy Mezger says so.
Lots of talkers, man, especially on those lower Greenville nightclubs.
Yeah, well, that was, believe me, I walked through more of those guys than they know what to do with, and
walked through them.
It was there was a time that I didn't necessarily, you know, like today, you know,
weren't walking away from certain situations
I
that you would walk away from now.
I don't lean into trouble. I don't lean into trouble anymore. But back then, I would lean. I would lean into trouble. I would never really start the trouble, but you know, if I saw it coming, you know, I didn't necessarily lean out of the way, you know, into it. Sometimes I leaned into it depending on what the circumstances was. Like especially if I perceived that there was a bully situation. I'm 54 years old and I still interfere. I still get, you know, like last year I had an incident because these guys were picking on my favorite car inspection guys, you know.
Really?
Yeah, it was a long story, but just basically two clowns giving a couple of these this little tire shop on the corner of Lemon and Northwest Highway over there, you know.
Yeah, that's you're going to say Arapahoe and Custer because that's right by your gym and that's where I go.
Yeah, and so
I know the Lemon Northwest.
Yeah,
Highway
you know that. Yeah, it's a little eyesore place, but they're hardworking guys there, and they do stuff. And so I started going to them about 8 years ago because at the last minute I need to get an inspection. They did it for me on the very last sec. You know, like they were closing. Okay, we'll do it for you. And so I was like, so I just go and do it every time there, just because they're nice guys. And then so I was there last year, and the guy was, you know, these two guys were being extremely disrespectful. Now they're you know, they're Mexican guys there, and they're about, I mean, like seriously, the about tallest one is 5'5". You know, I mean, they're like little guys, and they're great guys, right? And stuff, and so these guys were being, you know, clowns, and you know, and I just couldn't take it, so I went and said something about it, and one of them took a swing at me, and it didn't turn out good for him, and you know, I mean, and I'll be honest, I antagonized the situation. I didn't necessarily have to do that. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I can't stand bullies. And even at my age, and I can still do something about it, even at my age. And so, you know, there's not going to be any bullies on my watch.
That's awesome, man.
And so you know, that we do that, and like my wife generally gives me a hard time about it, but she understands. Actually, it's funny because as much as she gets frustrated with me because I'll do that, she'll be like, I understand why you did it, you know.
Well, I mean, I think that the so you have to say everything this way now, right? The people who I most respect, you can't make generalities anymore. You can't just talk like we're like you're a normal person. Yeah, but women are attracted to protectors, to people who can handle business, to people who don't back down, and to people who would, you know, walk through a bully if there was a bully. That is something that's very attractive. That's super attractive. That's something that you would probably be classified by much of the woke culture today as the embodiment of toxic masculinity. You work at a gym. You help people optimize. You were and still are a fight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All the things you are what, from my point of view, come under attack pretty often when I don't watch the fucking news anymore. I haven't for almost 2 years now, have not watched the news. Since the cold came out, and I knew you could tell it was all bull. It's just ridiculous. But that's who I don't know what's behind it. I don't know if people actually even think this way. Because when I talk to someone who says to me, well, you're just a construction guy and you're this, I'm just like, dude, I cry more than almost anybody you know, probably. I meditate, I read, I do all this shit. And I do that just so that I don't implode. But I mean, you know, you're made a certain way. You're put on this earth to do a certain thing. I mean, it's the same way you have breeds of dogs. You got working dogs, hunting dogs, protection dogs.
Believer. I'm a believer that God put me on this earth to you know, help the people who can't help themselves.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I know in my own personal life, you know, there were times when I couldn't take care of things, you know what I mean? And I was desperate. And we had somebody that would step up and help me out. And you know, the thing about it as a kid too, I was less, I'm embarrassed by saying this, but, you know, I'm going to embarrass myself, is that I focused more on all the shit I didn't have in life, that I was not really appreciative for all the things I did have, that great things in life. And it wasn't really until I got older that I realized how fucking amazing my life has been.
Is that one of the reasons why you focus on that so much when you
Absolutely.
make social media posts? Is because it helps you, but also because you're like, yo, y'all, if you would quit focusing on the BS and start focusing on the gold, your life would get a lot brighter, a lot faster.
Well, I'd like to spare people, especially the younger generation, the same bullshit that I went through. You know what I mean? And so some people will listen, some people won't, and it'll be okay. The ones who do, the ones who don't, eventually that they'll see that I'm generally probably right, and they'll probably like, a couple of 2 years, oh shit, man, I should listen to the guy back then. And mainly because I know more about, like I said, the reason I'm good at this stuff is that I fucked up most of my life. I mean, what people see is my successes. They see that I have been the champ and that I have done all sorts of crazy stuff. And I've walked away from some crazy shit, and a lot of people wouldn't walk away from, and and stuff like this. But my wisdom comes from a lot of hard-earned problems that I caused, mostly for myself.
Yeah, but I think that there's something in you, because your medical practice, to me, displays this as well. Your coaching, your medical practice, there's something very deep in you about don't fuck with the people I love, don't bully people. But there's something there about helping people. Yeah. I reached out to you when I was going through a very difficult time, and you were very helpful to me, and you followed up, and that meant a lot to me, and that helped me a lot. But there's something there that I was drawn to, because I like to help people too.
Yeah.
And what I feel like I can help people most with is, hey, this has actually happened to me, and I was able to get through it because I did this and this. You should try this. This helps. Is that part of what drew your focus toward the medical practice, toward getting your PhD, toward figuring out how to enhance and optimize?
Well, okay, so I believe it is our responsibility to take care of our fellow man.
I agree with you.
I'm not a big fan of this, let them suffer, let them drag kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of that. I believe that we have an opportunity to help our fellow man, and that person that you help, you don't know what that is. Like I will never be known as a great man, okay, and I'm okay with that. All right. I mean, it's not like I lose sleep and go, oh my gosh, I'm such a loser.
Well, who's making that decision? And
well, okay. I think in my own life, I just look at my examples through life is that, I've done some pretty cool stuff, but I'm not a great man, and I won't be considered a great man. But I do believe that I have the power to help create a great man or a great woman. And I think that is where our responsibility should go to. Our responsibility should go to doing our very best to be our very best people that we can, because it's not necessarily the fact that I do anything great, but I might influence somebody who does something great, who becomes a great person, like this, because of the way that Guy Mezger carried himself, or because Guy decided that he was going to keep that guy from getting his ass kicked one day. You know what I mean? And the fact is that I saved that person from that ass kicking on the thing, and that was the leverage that they needed to change things that were going on in their lives, whatever. I mean, there's
or you picked up the phone to someone who you don't met in person twice or whatever.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And the fact is like I always wanted to be a doctor. Now, despite I've always wanted to be a doctor. I always wanted to help people. I've always enjoyed helping people, and the problem is like we act like in America you got every opportunity to do stuff, but you really don't. I mean, let's face it, folks. That's just the way it goes. I mean, and it's not, I don't lose sleep over it or anything like that, but it's just the way it is, right? And so when you're a poor kid, like I was a poor kid and stuff like this, man, you don't, and especially because I wasn't a particularly good student. Now, if I was a good student, like my brothers were poorer than me, not really poorer than me, but they had the same thing, but they were super smart. And so, the difference there was, that these guys had great, college prospects and things like that I just didn't have because I wasn't a very good student. And so when you're not a very good student and you're poor, you ain't going to become a doctor. I'm sorry, it's just not is, and you know, and you know, and then so really this what happened was is like I always wanted to be a you know I was always super interested in you know I tend to be like the type of doctoring I do was in my wheel well as being when I was a fighter, right? You know, because it's all about, you know, being a fighter is about, you know, optimizing your health and optimizing your stuff like this. And that just interests me. And that's what our practice is about health optimizations, mostly for men. Why? Because that's what I know, you know what I mean? And that's what I was interested in at the time. And I studied that and, you know, got focused on that mainly to become a better athlete. And the byproduct is like when I was done being an athlete, you know, it helped me become, you know, a good physician, and you know, and Mark Cuban had an important pull in it. You know, you know, we were talking about what, you know, I was the president of HNet Fights, which was the combat sports division, and mainly we covered all kinds of sports and stuff, but you know, in that division, but we, you know, we were gonna merged with Ryan Seacrest's company and became Access TV, and I realized in my relationship with them doing that my days were probably numbered over there because they're a completely different kind of group of guys, you know, not better or worse, just different. And so I kind of realized, you know, my days are done here, you know. So Mark was asking me what I was going to do, you know, you know, and I told him, I said, I think my days are done here, and I think he realized it too. And he goes, well, what did you focus on? I said, you know, I've always wanted to go back to school and finish this stuff. And he goes, why don't you go back to school? And I sat there, I go, well, it's not that easy to do. Well, Mark ended up paying, you know, part of my severance deal package for the company was putting me through school.
No kidding. Yeah. Wow. Was it in writing that you had that this was part of it?
No, he just
gentleman's agreement.
He just gave me the money. Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. I've heard of him investing in people like that before. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're coming up, are you doing a lot of research on your own? Is there a lot of word of mouth research in the fight game, in the fitness game? Yeah, I'm talking years ago and that's how you're making these realizations that, oh, hey, I could work out all day long, but if I got my levels squared away on some things over here, it's going to make me it's gonna make exponential difference in my effort.
Yeah. I mean, you know, basically, you know, like when I was a younger guy, like real young, I would read everything there was about certain martial arts, you know what I mean, and everything like that, and I'd study it and train it. And like I said, I had the ability to see something and be able to recreate it. You know what I mean? You know, and you know, it's a talent, but you know, and so that's you know how it started. It's like, you know, it's like. I was in the weightlifting when nobody in the karate world was in the weightlifting. There was a misnomer it's going to make you slow and
not as flexible.
Exactly, less flexible, you know, slow and all this. And it didn't make me slow nor inflexible. It made me, when I hit you, you didn't get back up.
Now, was that decision to get to lift and get stronger, was that one you made, or did someone recommend it to you, or you just start experimenting? Really?
Yeah, I just did my own.
So you start working out and you're just like, I'm getting more power by doing this.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, you know, there's not without it's also vein spikes, you know, I mean, I look good. So, you know, and again, you know, when you're a little bit insecure because of who you are as a person or lack of there as a person, having the good looks and physical the physicality to back it up does not hurt your social life.
A little bit goes a long way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a lot of it had to do with that. And then I just created a better, you know, I was just always looking how to create a better athlete, a better human being, you know, when it came to it. And I just started studying more about diet, more about, you know, working out, more about all kinds of stuff like that. And it just kind of segued into it, you know. And the problem came up with, you know, in my 20s is a lot of the guys I was hanging around with were doing steroids.
Okay, right.
And
getting you another water.
Thank you.
I should have grabbed you a few. Sorry.
I'm all right.
It's athletes come in here and they're dehydrated. I got this big old fuck. I just got this today for my birthday.
Well, I got the.
You got runs.
your deal here?
Everything is content, bro.
There you go.
That's what I'm telling you.
And
You're like on the steroids, the gear thing. Was there a lot of like? I mean, you're not. There's no papers out. There's no studies. There's no like real like.
yeah, that's the problem.
You're just like using your own self as like a laboratory animal.
Well, I was not that stupid. So, I mean, I recognized that these, because all these guys were getting all this just junk from Mexico, you know what I mean? And, and I'm like, yeah, man, I got better things to do than shoot myself with shit that's coming in from Mexico and stuff like this.
Not even really sure.
Not really familiar with what it is. So, so I started doing, literally doing my research, and there is there was a book out called the Underground Steroid Bible.
Okay.
And it's probably I don't know if they still have it out there, but it is one of the most extensive book on all kinds of steroids.
Underground Steroid Bible.
Yeah, and so
who wrote that, or was it like a collaboration?
Good question. I'm not sure. But it has a tremendous amount of good science information in it and stuff like this. And so I just started reading this, and then I realized, it's like, the thing of that reason I avoided the steroid thing when I was younger and everything like that, like a lot of the guys that didn't do that, was that the one thing that there was the big thing that all the bodybuilders truly did say, like the real, like the Mezgers and all the guys that were, even Arnold Schwarzenegger and all this, was the fact that they were like, you have to max out your potential, your natural potential first. And that's where people still today miss out on the use of, kids today. Their thing isn't so much steroids as it is the SARMs stuff now that are real popular. And they act as if it's not a steroid type thing or has a negative step. It has extremely bad negative.
Yeah, they crash your levels.
Yes, yeah. And it crashes your cholesterol. And it does a lot of other stuff that's potentially dangerous.
Okay, so when Arnold and these other guys are saying you have to max out your own your own physical maximum potential first, are they saying like you gotta actually be working out hard enough to like deserve to then enhance? Is that
enhance.
Okay?
Exactly.
That's
because what people don't realize is like you look at these guys, these bodybuilders and athletes and stuff like this. Like I said, again, the bodybuilding is bodybuilding. So to me, it's not like they're athletes. You know what I mean? To me, do they work their ass off? Yes. Do they bust? Yes. But they're not doing anything athletic. So, so that's a little less, important to me, because like for me, I want to physically be superior, you know what I mean? So that, that's why I would do it, is that I would, like, I've got, I, can only move 2 of these now. I need to move 3, right? You know what I mean?
Sure. But you're already winning. I mean, you're already having success. You're already, like, when you're starting to realize that there are these enhancements that can be made, you're already to a degree where you're maxing out.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal with them, okay? And I'll be honest with you. It's like this. It's like I got no moral problem with guys doing the steroids and stuff. I have no more problem with it, okay? The difference is like the reason that I didn't do it wasn't because I had a moral issue against doing it, because I would have. It was I wasn't going to lie about doing it. That's where I had the moral issue. The moral issue is that I work with children. I teach children. I work with them all the time. I'm not going to sit there and tell them I'm doing one thing and lying about another. I'm not going to look at my son and go, yeah, hey, you know what? I don't believe in doing this, and I'm doing it behind their backs. I'm not going to be like that, all right? And so, so I walk the walk and I talk the talk.
Isn't that the biggest bullshit about Liver King, is that he's out there saying this is the deal and he's lying? I mean, it was the lie more than it was anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
and these are like the 12, 13, 14-year-old boys who are on social media and who are really locked in on YouTube are the ones that are picking up on all this stuff like first.
Well, the Liver King is, I mean, he's so full of shit, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, anybody who thinks that guy is natural, okay, when you first saw him, and anybody who believes he's natural is a fucking idiot. Okay, I'm sorry.
What were you saying about his abs when I saw you last week or the week before?
I mean, so
Thank you, brother.
So like, thank you. So the problem with it with what he was doing with his abs was like, I was noticing like he would do movements and stuff like this, but the abs don't really move or anything, right? There's no inflection. It doesn't get soft, doesn't, like this.
Yeah.
They just sit there, and I was like, oh, he got implants. So he basically has ab implants.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's why they look like that. And that's why you see they don't actually. You'll see that they don't move. They don't do that. There's no. There's times when like if I'm not tightening my gut, there would be a softness to it, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? You notice that it's always 100% hard.
Yeah.
It's because
Don't they inject something called synthol? Have you heard of that? It's like this oil that.
Well, they do that a lot. They do. I don't think his is oil though. I think his actual implant plants.
Like
I mean, they do the oil. They use
like
the oil
that a woman would
inject the oil into the muscles themselves, and it causes an irritation for them to swell. And so that happens a lot with the oil. Like the oils will use, like especially biceps. They'll shoot in the bicep, and it swells up because you just filled your bicep full of oil. It's like stupid. It's stupid.
Seems very.
Like stupid.
Counterintuitive.
Stupid. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, seriously, you got to be that vain of an idiot. You've got to be that fucking insecure that you've got to shoot oil into your biceps in order to look like you have more fucking muscle. Come on, I want to fucking. You should be slapped in the face for just being a fucking idiot. All right.
Remember,
let alone all the other insecurity issues that obviously are going to come crashing down around you on that one. If that person who sits there, if that is not a person who is like, I don't know, heading for disaster in life, would be the guy who's injecting fucking oil into his biceps and quadriceps. I mean, come on.
Give himself a fake bicep. Do you remember? Well, did you ever have any interfacings with professional wrestling? Back in the day, remember Scott Steiner? Big Scott.
Yeah.
Remember those biceps?
Yeah, he was huge.
I mean, my God. And I know Ken Shamrock. Yeah. This is that Brazilian guy. I think Rogan was talking about.
Those guys are just full.
Look at his pecs, man.
Well, look how stupid he looks.
It is very. So that's a body dysmorphia type thing more than anything. You think?
Yeah.
They need to go talk to a shrink about what they're doing to themselves.
Yeah,
because they've lost touch.
You think? I
don't know.
Come on. I mean, you look at that kind of stuff like that, you're like, part of me wants to give them a hug and let them know that their mom and dad probably still love them and that they probably need to reconnect with that a little bit, because that's ridiculousness of what's going on. And see, that's the problem also too. So here's the problem: is that guys like the Liver King, who sits there and advocates that he's natural and all this other stuff, which is great. At least he says he's natural and that you should do your very best
until he gets found out.
Until you get found out, because all your bullshit supplements don't freaking work, and and they don't do this. Listen, there's a limit to what certain stuff's going to do. There's a reason why steroids work, okay? Because they do work, all right? But the fact of the matter is that do you need them? Is that what you need in life on what's going on? You know what I mean? No, probably not. You know what I mean? Now, is hormone balancing important? Absolutely. Hormone balancing is a huge part of what we do in our medical deal, because if your hormones aren't balanced, you're going to have an unhealthy life. You know what I mean? Your chances of getting cancer, your chances of just having a miserable life is greatly enhanced if your hormones aren't balanced. But hormone balancing doesn't mean you have to necessarily take them. It means you just need to make sure that you are doing the right program, whether it is being on bioidentical hormones or other medications that cause you to produce your own hormones, or just maxing out your natural ability. Most of it done.
Do people not understand the correlation in terms of their own mental health with their levels? Like if your levels are really, really off, you might be waking up in the morning and really, like, honestly feeling like ass, and it might not be for any other reason, but that you've been eating so much artificial food and drinking so many artificial drinks that, or whatever, just our natural, this environment we live in has just crashed your levels, and you don't even know that that's what's up.
Well, okay, yeah. There's always that. The thing about it is that people like today, our ability to get good diagnostic readings on you is really easy today. I mean, it's easy. It's a blood test away. Most of the blood tests that they do, they don't do them the right ones, but You get a right physician in there who can, put together the right diagnostics. It's going to give you a really good idea where you're at, and you should be able to have a few options on what your therapies may be. Like with our therapy, is that there's three levels of therapy with us. We have 100% natural. We have allopathic assist and allopathic and full allopathic. Now, most people fall in the area of allopathic assist because most of my patients are not that young. Okay, they tend to be in their 40s plus, and so they tend to be, having a problem with their health, a problem with their, their normal stuff, and that's why they come to me. Good. Because they're looking at me like going, hey, I'm just can't seem to lose this gut anymore, or I'm having problems with this, or I'm having erectile issues, or, blah, blah, blah. And then so then, we can look at what's going to be your best, after doing some good diagnostic testing on you. Then we look at, okay, so, hey, what can we do to maximize this? And then so I also look at what your goals are, okay? So most of us want to be healthy. Most of us want to be lean. You know what I mean? Most of us want to have a little bit of muscle and stuff like that. So I'll put together a program, what I believe will be the program for that, which is going to consist of exercise. It's going to consist mostly of diet, of eating the proper diet, eating mainly the proper way to eat, and
which is what,
my
in
opinion,
general,
intermittent fasting is by far the easiest, most healthiest way for you to maximize your health and potential without having to do a huge amount of lifestyle change.
Do you intermittent fast?
I've been for 9 years.
Do you intermittent fast every day or certain times of the week, or how do you do it?
Depends. I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, I usually do it every day of the week, and then okay, so I got sick from I got the SRV, from the respiratory. So yeah, and then I didn't eat anything because I was just, my stomach just wouldn't, I was just miserable, and stuff. So like the last couple of days, today was the first day I went back on fasting, but I did 3 days in a row of eating normal meals and stuff like that, just because I needed the calories because, I had gone several days and when that things, and tons of diarrhea and things like that. Damn, that were just horrible. Yeah. Like this. And so, so I was in a big calorie deficit anyway. So, so I ate the calories. But the nice part about the fasting is real simple. Okay. The intermittent fasting is real simple because it's actually more how we eat anyways in real life. How we did 10,000 years ago, we rarely did we get up and eat a very big breakfast. No, you got up, you got yourself going, then you started hunting, and then you killed something and you ate it because there was no refrigerator. Right. You know what I mean? And you went into doing the stuff. And so your big meal is generally right after, lunch. And then, you would continue to eat. Why? Because you just got done killing this elk and you just carried it, 20 miles and you're going to eat it up before it goes bad. And so you eat all that ton of food. So eating these large meals, a bunch of high calorie meals in a short amount of time is something we've been doing for years.
Because it's like what our machines were made to process, how they were made to process anyway.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people are going to argue with me. They're going to go, "What about multiple meals?" And because there was a old philosophy that if you didn't eat, your metabolism closed down, which is not true. I mean, your metabolism doesn't shut down that quickly. It just doesn't. It changes over from from sugar burning to fat burning, right? So it's actually a little different. And so the fact of the matter is like with intermittent fasting, and it's mostly the suppression of the insulin that does most of the magic. And and when you suppress your insulin, that turns you into a fat burning machine. Why? Because you're not pushing sugar and things. Now, eating the multiple meal thing is not necessarily wrong, but it is wrong for certain people. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So so when you think about multiple meals, okay, you think about that's like that's like grazing, right? All right. So what kind of animals graze? Well, we can name two animals right off the bat that we know graze. One is a cow and one's a horse. And what's the difference between the two? Well, one is an athlete and one we eat. Okay. And so if you're not training like an athlete, having the multiple meals is like grazing like a cow, and you're not going to spark your your metabolism to go better and stuff like that. No, if you're putting in a ton of calories and you're spiking your insulin every couple hours, you're gonna put on weight. Okay, all right. Now, if you are lifting and you're doing high energy stuff, yeah, you'll put on muscle. If you're not, you're going to put on fat. All right. And so the fact of the matter is like I said, is that you don't, for me, I'm busy. Okay. I'm not doing 2 workouts a day. Okay. I don't do that. My workouts generally are about 20 minutes long, unless I'm doing my martial art workout, which is a little bit longer, which I usually do about 2 to 3 times a week. So usually about 4 to 5 days a week I'm training, and it'll be like 2 medium training sessions and 2 hard training sessions a week. Okay. And, just because my life is busy, I can't sit around and train all day long anymore and recover and do all that kind of stuff. So my ability to recover from my training and my ability to prepare for my training is a lot less than it used to be. And so the intermittent fasting works out perfect for me. Why? Because, I'm regulating my caloric intake. I'm regulating my insulin, which is super important. Okay. I'm regulating all that kind of stuff as I'm going through my day. All right. And maximizing it for when I need it. And it just works. And there's so many benefits. I mean, I could do a whole podcast just on the benefits of intermediate fasting, and health wise for autophagy and things like that. Autophagy is the burning off of sentient cells. Sentient cells are cells that have gone through their hayflick life. They basically replicated all that they're going to be able to replicate, and they're no longer of any real use. They're dead cells. They just haven't died, so to speak, right? And they clog up the body, right? And so the process of autophagy is a process of clearing out that stuff. So by fasting, guess what we cause? Autophagy. All right. And so it's one of those things that what stops autophagy? Food.
Well, did you get on the intermittent fasting? Did you get onto it? Like, I'm just going to try this and see what happens.
Yeah.
Did you immediately notice like thinking clear, performing better, sleeping better, etc.? Because I doubt you were like 30 pounds overweight and you did it for weight management reasons.
No, I just basically I read all about it, and it was like 10 years ago, and I just started a little longer maybe, and then I was like, wow, yeah, this is actually really good. And so I just started doing it. And it's not hard. About 2 weeks into it, it wasn't a problem with, not eating during the day. In fact, like now I have to kind of tell myself to eat, because I'll get busy and it'll be like 2:00. I'll be like, damn, I should have started eating a couple hours ago.
Are you going 16 off, 8 on? Is that normally what you do?
Yeah, something close to that.
What are your 8 on? What is it? What time of the day are you targeting that?
1 to 9.
Okay. Is it junk science that if you eat late, you're going to put on weight? If you eat in the middle of the night, you're going to put on weight. Is this 100% calories in? If you're putting
okay, it's not necessarily calories in, calories out, but there is very much that. Meaning, like, yeah, if you eat 1,000 calories and you are so busy that you burn up 1,100 calories, you're in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. All right. Okay. So that's the basic science, but what you eat is also super important. Okay. Now that's where people don't, like, can you eat 1,000 calories of sugar or 1,000 calories of protein? Okay. So if I eat 1,000 calories of sugar, 1,000, what would be my result? Well, okay. So if all I'm eating is 1,000 calories and it's all sugar, well, then I'm doing nothing to preserve that muscle, right? And of course, sugar, right? So,
which is like the worst thing you can put in your body,
in
terms of what it does to your brain, but also your digestive system, just sugar in general.
Yeah, well, sugar. When we refer to sugar, we got to clarify the fact that all carbohydrates are sugar. Okay. So anything that's a carbohydrate, you can say sugar. But there are certain carbohydrates that are better than other carbohydrates, like simple sugars, like table sugar and stuff like that. Yeah, that's not nearly as good for you as, let's say, potato. Because potato is a starchy carbohydrate. It'll turn into sugar, but it takes a lot longer to do that. So it breaks down slower in your system. There's less spike of an insulin thing in your body and stuff like that, and it has longer effects. So the type of food that you eat is going to affect how it's going to look on your hips. Okay.
Yes.
And so, and so
the ultimate criteria.
Yeah. I mean, with us, it tends to be our stomach, right? And with women, it tends to be the hips. And so the fact is like, the like I said, the types of food that you eat, the types of calories you get in is important, because again, if all you're eating, because sugar, like 40 grams of sugar can suppress your immune system for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So people don't realize every time you drink a Coke, you're actually starting to suppress your immune system.
You're letting the wall down, which means you're opening yourself up for getting sick.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I mean that's the main problem with what wasn't really addressed real well with COVID, because we were with the COVID problem. I mean, we really kind of ignored one thing because we were afraid, I guess, to hurt people's feelings. But let's face it, obese people had a much tougher time with COVID than anybody else. But we didn't really address that. And we kind of having obesity issues can lead to this thing, but it was like this short little thing. Instead that should have been the lead. Hey, if you would be considered obese, you need to be on the lookout for COVID, right? You know what I mean? That should have been the announcement, right? You know what I mean? You are more vulnerable to that, right? But you are also, like I said, because of the obesity leads to all sorts of health issues, morbidity, especially mobility issues. And so, it leads to diabetes. It leads to all kinds of different stuff that we have to address, and we're a little touchy about doing it. I'm not into man shaming people. I'm not into fat shaming people and stuff like this. But this has gotten fucking retarded when we're getting down on Adele because she lost weight, and all these heavy set women who are sitting there, cry over Adele songs. I used to cry over Adele songs. All right. And I wasn't obese, right? You know what I mean? And like this. And then, so like their hero, who is, Adele is a wonderfully beautiful woman who has a sex appeal about her.
You bet.
Which is, like, hey man, she was a sexy, heavy chick. You know what I mean? She's a better looking, she's sexier now that she's thinner, right? You know what I mean?
Very much so.
And the fact of the matter is though, so all these, she was a hero to kind of these heavy set women like this, but that's not okay.
No,
it's not. Why? Because if you want to die from COVID, that's a surefire way of, well, not a surefire way is a strong, it'll contribute to more health issues. All right. With COVID, we're not out of the woods with COVID entirely. There's issues on this stuff like this. And with this, the SRV and COVID and flu, the amount of issues that are coming up this winter because of these things is huge. Yeah, and you need to be on fire on this. You need to be gone. You need to be conscientious of like, hey, let's eat well. Let's do this. Let's try to drop some weight. Let's try to be healthier. All right. It's not a matter of fact whether I think you're an attractive person or unattractive person. You're a bad person, a good person because of that. There's plenty of people who are skinny who are assholes. There's plenty of people who are fat who are assholes too. Okay. Oh, yes. All right. So the fact of the matter is that doesn't determine whether you're a good person or a bad person. Well, it's going to determine is whether you're a healthy person or not. And I'm tired of the bullshit that we're feeding our people like this. I literally had a woman who came to me with a weight issue, but she didn't really have a weight issue. What she wanted me to do was okay it for her to have a weight issue. Because she goes, well, my doctor said I don't that I really don't have a health issue. Yeah, that being this heavy isn't really a health issue. I went, wow, really? You need to get a new doctor. And
how telling is that too? So let's talk about the weight thing, but also men who keep hearing these advertisements about go to the low T center.
Oh, no, and get me started on those people.
Well,
please.
I want to, because so I say to myself, I need to enhance my health. I want to optimize my performance. I'm going to go look Guy up. I know he's got this reputation. He is all about fitness, all about optimization. I mean, all physicians are not created equal.
No,
I mean,
not.
If you walk in and talk to your physician and it doesn't look like he practices or she practices what she preaches, shouldn't you walk right back out the fucking door?
That's the way I look at it. It's like when somebody's telling you, what you will find is that they give you good advice. You need to work out more. You need to consider eating better. You need to do this. all of which is true. Probably, right? Depending on what it is. But if you're not leading the way, then it's hard for people to have confidence in you. Part of why I'm good at what I do and people listen to me is that I am 54 years old, about to be 55 in a couple of days. And I walk around about 10% body fat, a little more, a little less sometimes. You know what I mean? I'm strong, I'm physical, I'm able to do stuff. And believe me, it's not without a price that I didn't pay. Like my fight career, I'm still agile and everything like this, even though I've had tremendous amount of injuries. I've broken my back, my arm, I had my thumb cut off before. You talked about that.
Yeah.
We've had all kinds of crazy shit that's happened to me, right? But I'm still doing stuff in life because of the lifestyle I'm living. Now, if I did not have the fight career, if I did not have certain of those injuries, yeah, I'd be a 55-year-old, gymnast or something, right? You know what I mean? It'd be a different world. But I did pay the price. I did pay the price for having a career that I did. I stayed in the fight business longer than I should have. I should have retired a few years before that. And I paid the price. But the fact of the matter is like, when you have like your doctor, he has to do a lot of stuff. He studies a lot of different things, and things. It's me. I don't study the flu. I don't study how to fix a broken bone. I don't study it. All I work on is metabolic function. How do I make a better how do I make you better metabolically? And that's all I do. I study all the science that comes to that, all the new science on it, all the old science. Hell, I have just found, seriously, there is a program. They have ways of using electronic stuff in order to mimic responses in your body, right? So I can record something like a medicine. And how it affects your body, and I can record that on an electronic thing, and I can recreate that. We now are working on science to recreate that function without actually having the medicine. In other words, like let's say you had a headache,
right?
Okay, severe headache, all right, a migraine, and you take this medicine that is you take some kind of medicine for it, okay, right?
Aleve or something.
Yeah, something like this.
Yeah.
And so what we can do is that they can actually mimic that response electronically and reproduce it without that medicine.
With like some sort of stems?
Yeah,
or
using a stem machine.
Okay.
And they can do all sorts of stuff like this.
Wow.
And it's insane. And I don't know how good that science is. I literally before I came in here, was talking to the scientist who wants to show me what they're doing. So next week, I'm literally going to be introduced into stuff that is over my pay grade, right? But you see, here's the thing, is that's what I do. Okay, all I do is work on the cutting edge. Yes, yeah. I work on the cutting edge of stuff like this. Don't come to, like I tell people, don't come to me for tax advice because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Right. All right, but if you want to get in shape, I know a lot about that. In fact, I know more than just about any other person about it, right? And so the fact is like, what I can do is I can bring you the science behind it. I can bring you the practicality about it. The one advantage that I bring that other guys don't bring into this thing is that I bring a perspective of being a world-class athlete. All right. And so if you want to perform, my life depended on me performing the best I possibly could be.
Right.
Literally, my life depended on it because I was being punched in the face, thrown to the ground, and hell, there were no rules in the original format of the UFC, man. They could bite your face off and you wouldn't be disqualified. So yeah, you had to be kind of on top of your freaking game, right? You had to be one of the things to do. So, so I bring a perspective into the medical and health game that most guys never will have. Most doctors will never have. And the MedMen clinics piss me off because all they do is, what they do is that they hire very well-meaning nurse practitioners and physician assistants who go through a course, a hormone course, and basically it's the same stuff. What they do is, they're going to give you, and what they want to do is they want to, that's why, they want to charge your insurance. So what's going to happen is you're going to come to me, I'm going to run some blood, I'm going to charge your insurance. then I'm going to put you on a program, whether you need to be on it or not. Why? Because I want you to come in every week to take your shot, because that's what you do. You come in every week. We charge your insurance $250 for that shot. Oh, and we charge you $50 because that's your copay. So you get to pay $200 a month, or sometimes $250 a month, depending on if you get 4 or 5 shots that week. You're going to do 200 milligrams of cypionate. And guys, if this doesn't sound exactly what everybody does, you're going to, a lot of you guys are sitting there going, wow, this sounds familiar. Yeah, it sounds real familiar. You come in, you get your shot. It's a 200 milligram shot once a week. Why? Because a cypionate has a 7-day half-life. Even though we know now that cypionate is much better if you divide the doses, use sub-Q versus intermuscular. There's all kinds of things that these guys don't know. Why? Well, several reasons. One is, even if they had the information, it goes out of their business model. Why? Because I want you coming in this week. Oh, yeah, am I giving you any other kind of medication to keep your system going? Because when you take testosterone, it shuts down your system. But we have a lot of medications that can keep your system going, especially if you're a younger guy, like this, and you should probably take a break every now and then. But, we don't want that. We don't want that to be the case. Why? Because we want you to be a drug addict. We want your testosterone to shut down. So when you're not on testosterone, you want to kill yourself. So you get immediately back in there to get your shot. Right? Instead of dealing with stuff how it really should be dealt with, right? You know what I mean? And the fact is, you should take breaks on your testosterone. You should take breaks on different stuff. You should have a doctor in there who understands how to do this. And here's the fact of the matter is that you should do the least amount of testosterone to get the maximum amount of effect. Now, everybody sits there and goes, well, I want to have a testosterone like a 22-year-old guy. If you're 45 years old, you're not going to have testosterone for a 25-year-old guy. You don't have the receptors. It doesn't matter. You don't need more than 900. Your free testosterone at 40 years old, 700 and 900, between those numbers is what you need. All right, 900 being on the closer, and sometimes a little bit more, but by and large, you want to keep that number anywhere between that 700 and 900. You want a free testosterone of a 15 to 18 to up to 30, give or take, depending on what individuals are. But these are things that they don't check. You want to keep your estrogen levels in at a good level. You know what I mean? Again, because you need estrogen. Yeah.
Right.
You need it. It's important, but you don't need that much. Right.
But they're not reading levels like you are. Probably the first thing that you put someone through when they come to you to get your help from your medical practice is, let's see where you're at. Let's get your blood. And then are you immediately talking about the practical lifestyle things first while you're waiting for those blood things to come back? Like, are you sleeping? What are you eating? Do you even know how much you're eating? Things like that?
Well, the problem is with the eating part that I finally reside the fact that nobody's going to be honest with me about it.
Okay, sure.
They just aren't. They'll be like, oh, I eat good. No, you don't. I'm looking at you and I'm like going, I know you're not, right? You know what I mean? So I'm not going to argue with them. So instead what I do is I go, you need to be on the intermittent fasting. Because if you eat freaking pizzas and ice cream and you only eat it in an 8-hour window, you'll still lose weight. Now, you're going to be healthy necessarily? Not necessarily, right? You're healthier than if you're eating it all day long, right? But not doing it. So what we start with is that. And then I start talking about eating clean. Like once I can get them eating the intermediate fasting, because our Grit and Growth program is a 90-day program in which we get people to do some modification. So we have workouts on our website you can do. Most people work out themselves, but if they don't, they have their own workouts that we can recreate for you. Eating the intermediate fasting type deal. And then we also have then we start fine tuning that. All right, you need to start cutting out this. You need to eat more of these. Okay.
Are you trying to pretty much point everyone back toward whole foods and getting rid of all the simple processed shit? And then
you want to do that.
As they advance, are you teaching them about macros? And then are you also testing levels to see which of those macros? So let's set protein aside, but maybe you break down your starches, your carbs differently than you break down.
I mean, you can do that. I mean, that's but by and large, most people are not. I'll be honest. What I found is most people aren't going to
give a shit because
they're not. It's not that they don't give a shit. It's just that what's going to really work. And so if you know, so, but if I sit
I want
there
to
and
see
tell you-
results.
yes, and so if I sit there and go, hey, listen, you know, eat a steak, they're like, really? Awesome, because you want to. You want to eat steak. Why? It's the best protein source. It's the best. It's the best. You know, it's going to get you the most balanced essential amino acid profile that you're going to get. And then I'll go. You know what you need to be eating now? You don't need to be eating that corn-fed beef.
Yeah.
You need to start eating
Grass-fed.
Grass-fed.
Yeah.
And I'll go, and this will be the situation why you want to do that. And so what ends up happening is once we get people, you know, if I try to get you going all at once, you're just not going to do it.
It's like
all right?
trying to drink out of a fire hose.
Yeah. So really what you're going to do is what I have people do is that we start making them feel better. And of course, if we get them their hormones balanced, if you will do the intermittent fasting, if you do it 5 days a week, okay, all right, let's say you don't need to do it full 7 days a week. You do it 5 days a week and you stay on that things, you will notice that you'll start losing weight in a couple of weeks. You notice that once your hormones are balanced, that you're going to start losing weight. You notice that, oh, hey, if I just work out twice a week, I'll start, you know, feeling better and looking better like this. And then there's going to be like, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Then they come to me.
Because you're helping them build momentum.
Yes, I'm helping them go on that.
Is your ideal client like the busy, on-the-go, entrepreneurial guy or gal who's
ideally
their biggest complaint, though, about this whole fitness thing is, I just don't have time?
Yeah.
Because you just explained a very efficient way to handle all of that, stay busy, actually eating and stopping and all of that during the day. A lot of people don't do that already. If you would just focus it,
yeah,
get guidance from someone who is a pro.
Well,
and
simple
why
things.
wouldn't
a lot of people already kind of do some fasting and stuff, but they'll have coffee with like a bunch of shit in it, right? You know, like Starbucks coffee. I said, but if you drink black coffee, and I'm not sure if I go, listen, it's black coffee, drink it. It's good for you. It's got a lot of great medicinal reasons for you to do
and
it.
a ton of antioxidants.
Yeah. Drink it. All right, don't put the other bullshit in there, and then don't, you know, like this. And we're not talking brain surgery, you know. We're you know, just you know, we have all sorts of fine tuning, like, you know, things that are safe to take during a fast. Okay, like, you know, okay, so let's say you work out, like I work out during my fast. Okay, so what would I do to help work out during a fast? Okay, well, the problem with working out during a fast is that you go catabolic, obviously, right? You know, which is your sleeping state. So what are things that are going to help me stay anabolic while I'm training, while I'm fasting? So what do I do? All right, so there's a list of things you can take. Okay, so first of all, one of them is you have to do something that's going to feed the muscle. Okay, so you're going to take essential amino acids. Okay. Now, is it technically fasting anymore because you just took just under 5 grams of amino acids? Technically not, but it's not going to spike your insulin. It's not going to do the other stuff like this. So you're still within having all the benefits of having the fast, even though you are putting some essential amino acids in there. Okay. And the essential amino acids, the nice part about essential amino acids is that the amino acid uptake in that, which is how much the utilization is very high. Okay, just
because it's the only thing hitting your system at that time. So your cells just suck out.
But it's also essential amino acids, and so your body needs them.
Right.
All right, and so it's going to absorb a lot more. Here's the thing. You know how everyone used to eat egg whites instead of egg yolks? Do you know the difference between eating a whole egg and the amount of amino acid utilization versus egg whites?
Because that whole argument was based on cholesterol, right? Which was just some junk science
bullshit,
on that.
yeah.
But what is that number? What's the amino acid?
Okay, so
difference?
if you eat just eat egg whites,
okay,
you utilize the amino acids in only about 20% of them.
So the yolk is integrating,
but when you
helping.
No, when you put the yolk in there, if you eat a whole egg, it's about 50%. I think it's 55%.
So you're more than doubling
more than tripling
the actual effectiveness.
Utilization
wow.
of the protein in there. Because again, remember the amino acids are, you know, the proteins break down in the amino acids, right? So the fact of the matter is that the amount that you would actually you'd be utilizing, it doesn't go to waste or turn into glycogen, is a lot higher.
Man, that's crazy.
Exactly.
Just that fact. So
exactly. So all the people that used to eat the egg white omelets, they're hardly getting shit for their for the actual utilization. You know, that's what people don't get. It's like there's a reason why we do the stuff that we do like this. It's like protein powders, again, hardly any utilization. Do you need them? Yeah, because there's calories, right? You know, and you're gonna have to have extra calories and stuff like this, everything like that. But it's not healthy. You want to eat food. You want to eat your food. The more food you eat, the better the utilization is on it, right? You know what I mean? And stuff like this. It's like supplementing. You have to supplement because today's day and age, just because there's food's just not nutritious. But you need to supplement with things that are going to like be functions
that are actually doing a job.
Yeah, like prime example is some of the safe stuff to take while you are fasting. All right, so as long as you have under 5 grams of essential amino acids, not branched chains. Again, branched chains. You know how much branched chains do this? They hardly do anything. It's ridiculous. 14% or something like that.
It's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. It's just, you know, like this. And people would naturally think, well, if I just do branched chain amino acids, which is the ones that I really want because they're the ones that really focus on muscle, that would be the advantage. And it's not. What they're finding out, it's not. You will do better taking essential amino acids, all 9 of them, than just the 3 branched chains.
So if I'm a guy, I'm busy, I'm always doing shit. I've been in much better shape than I am now. I'm working toward getting in shape. Why am I not beating your door down to be like, look, man, coach me through this? Yes, you're a doctor, but I would be more seeing you as a performance enhancement optimization coach. Like, I'm going to come talk to you.
I don't want you. I don't like. I mean, I'm never referred to as Dr. Mezger. I only make my wife call me Dr. Mezger. And,
I don't even want to hear those stories.
You probably do, but that's all right. But I won't share them out of the respect for my wife. No, I'm kidding. But the fact of the matter is yeah, I don't take that kind of air about stuff and everything like this. The reason being is that I want people to you know that they understand that this is not like some crazy, you know, sophisticated science stuff. No, this is basic science. This is basic food science.
You're learning every day, though. You're because you're using it, because you're doing it.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's part of what, again, part of why people should listen to me is I take my own advice.
Right.
Okay. Like I said, I take my own advice. I mean, I've not had any, like, you know, I said, I look pretty good for a 54-year-old guy. I don't.
Walking the walk is a thing.
It's like I don't wear skin lotion. I don't, you know.
You never put lotion on, really?
No.
I guess I'm outside a lot more than you.
I think having something to cut down on your ability to get burned and stuff like that. Yeah, especially as we get older. As we get older, that can potentially become a problem with cancer and stuff like that.
But if you start seeing stuff on your skin, you got to know that it's actually probably something happening inside of you that's revealing on the biggest organ of your body, which is your skin. So if it's dry spots or just any of that, there's probably a deeper reason why.
Usually, but we don't pay attention.
I'll get you out the door here in a minute, but a couple of MMA specific questions. So
MMA specific questions.
Yeah, right. Well, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu really trending. It's much more popular right now than it was 18 months ago. If I've got a kiddo, am I on the right track? If like your son, hey, let's go wrestle and play some other team sports, and then you can whittle that down and focus on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu later, or are we missing the boat and you got to be going at that BJJ right away? Is that overrated? Is it trending for a reason because it's awesome? Or
there's a reason it works. I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is an effective form of competition. Effective form of martial art. There is a lot of valid competition now, and so. I mean, I would always.
A lot of them are in Austin now too.
Yeah, there's a lot here in Dallas. Yeah. Well, I think that the problem with the jiu-jitsu today is that it doesn't. There is a huge swing towards the sporting end of it, you know what I mean? And a lot less practical self-defense stuff. And nobody really wants to do the self-defense stuff because it's a little bit rougher.
Is that what when Tim Kennedy talks about the combat jujitsu, he's like, it's not a real hold, it's not a real submission. If you can slap you in the face with the other arm and break the submission. He's been talking a lot about that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that. Like these guys, you know, they pull guard. You can't pull guard in a self-defense situation, not unless you want to die.
Oof, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely not practical.
And so jiu-jitsu, okay, so Brazilian jiu-jitsu came from judo. All right. And judo back then was considered a form of jiu-jitsu. It was a guy named Kano, Professor Kano. He invented judo. It was it was an offshoot of jiu-jitsu, and it was considered a form of jiu-jitsu. And it changed over to like its own separate thing in the 60s because they were trying to separate it for the Olympics and stuff like that, right? And so they did that. And so judo became a separate martial art. You know, it used to be considered a type of, like, jiu-jitsu is like saying there are types of jiu-jitsu, just like there's types of karate. There's no such thing as karate. Karate just means open hand. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's all it means. It means like open hand, which refers to open hand fighting. Right? There's types of karate. There's Kyokushin karate. There is Shotokan karate. There is Ishinryu karate. There's all kinds of karate. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. There were types of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu was the name of the fighting system, but it had different looks to it, right? You know what I mean? Just like different looks of karate. And so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was a more ground version game of it, right? You know what I mean? But, so what I see, some of the problem with Jiu-Jitsu is that these guys do not spend enough time doing takedowns or countering takedowns, stuff like this. The reason that I never lost any Jiu-Jitsu guy back in the UFC back in the day was the fact that no one could take me down. You know, they just weren't good. I mean, I was a high school All-American wrestler, state champion wrestler.
So you're able to sprawl that. They're coming in trying to shoot you, and there's just no.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten taken down like 6 times my entire UFC career. You know, or MMA career. Wow, that's it, 6 times.
Was that something that you were pretty natural at, or was that something that?
As a wrestler.
Yeah. Did you train if you were training against someone who you knew had a really strong ground game? Would you practice sprawling more in camp?
Yeah, I mean, the nature of the game was, you know, for me, like, you know, it's like, I mean, I'm a good jiu-jitsu guy, but I'm a better striker. Yeah. And so, you know, it's like, you know, it depends on, you know, what someone gives me, you know what I mean, and you know, what I'll take.
How long did you live in Japan when you were wrestling in Pancrase?
I actually never, like, man, well, I'd stay there months at a time, but I wouldn't. I didn't spend a year. I mean, I went over there like 15 years. Going over there for like 15 years almost.
Was there anything about that culture that was attractive to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great existence. I mean, you know, the fans there were like really super loyal. You know, so it's weird. Like I literally get fan mail to this day from Japanese fans still. I mean, still.
What's kept you? What's special to you about Texas? You've been here so long. So many people answer home. That question.
I mean, it's home. I'll be honest. I have I love Texas. I love Texas enough that I'm critical about where I see Texas being right now. I don't think we're in a good place.
What do you mean?
I think that I think our attitudes for our people and stuff like this is wrong. We've gotten too much of them against us kind of attitude. You know, it's like I understand that we need to have strong border control, but I also understand that there are people that live in shitty existences in other countries, and they come here for the American dream, and they would be massively productive as Americans.
Sure.
And they do jobs. We act as if they're taking jobs. No, we're not. You know, because when Alabama and I think it was Georgia and Alabama, they did this joint laws, draconian laws that cut down on migrant workers that were picking the fruit in the fields, right? Well, nobody's working. So they're trying to hire Americans for $30 an hour. $30 an hour to pick fruit.
Damn.
You think they paid the Mexicans $30 an hour?
No, sir.
Okay, no, they didn't. They gave them insurance, 401ks.
Wow.
All this says it. Nobody took the job because it sucks. That work sucks.
Yeah, it does.
All right, it sucks. Believe me, I picked fruit.
I did too.
I picked raspberry. I lived in Washington. We had to pick raspberries.
Washington State?
Yeah,
Where?
outside of Seattle, a place called Sultan.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I grew up on Whidbey Island, so
Okay, there you
that's
go.
fucking great.
Yeah, and so so I picked I picked raspberries. You know what I mean? It sucked.
Yeah.
That job sucked
those
so
long
bad.
gloves.
It was freaking miserable. Right, and so And the guys who did the great there was a bunch of Laotians. Okay, people familiar with them? They're a lot like kind of like Vietnamese.
Yes.
Kind of, and they worked their asses off there. The Laotians they had a whole settlement there in Western Washington, and they would go and they would work and work and work and work, and they did work that we wouldn't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And trust me, I didn't like the job. I quit as soon as my mom let me quit. I quit.
You were out.
I was out of there. And so the fact is like, we I think in our country, and especially in Dallas and Texas and stuff like this, that we need to have compassion. Yeah. Do we need to have laws? Yes. We need to keep strong borders, but we also need immigrants. We need people that are going to be able to do work that we're not willing to do.
Sure.
And we can't, we shouldn't be belittling these people. We shouldn't be like, criminalizing these people. We shouldn't be making these things, a situation where these people should not feel somewhat welcome and things. And because we need them, just like we need, just like we need everybody. There's not anybody who's not needed.
100%. Yeah, that's a hell of a point. We've got viewers and listeners who want to reach out, especially want to get with you so that you can help coach their performance enhancement.
We'd love to have you guys.
Physical optimization.
I'll tell you something.
How should they reach out? Should they email you at Mezger Systems, or what's the best way to connect with you directly to get the ball rolling? Especially people who want to hit the ground running in 2023, lose weight, up the muscle, get fit, feel better.
I mean, probably the easiest way, you could go to Guy at MezgerSystems.com. That's my direct email, and or Forrest with 2 R's.
Okay.
Forrest FORREST 2 R's. Forrest at Mezger Systems. He's our directors of operations. He'd be somebody who could help you out. I mean, there's all sorts of levels you can get involved in. I mean, the Grit and Growth program is the kind of the flagship to get started. It's a 3-month program. It's not inexpensive, but it's not horribly expensive. But it costs a little bit more. But it's about behavior modification. It's about, we have the 10 pillars, which are 10 things that we do to change the way that you look at things and do things and address things. And, it includes your medications. It includes regular, we have phone calls every Tuesday at 7:30.
Like accountability kind of? Coaching accountability?
Yeah, basically stuff. Coaching. We go over stuff that we see project, wise, and, simple things like showing, last week, because of the holiday, Tuesday, I showed a fat cutting, hack, because I was like, people freak out. Like, the problem is with some people is that they freak out when they're not hitting their diet. Like, I haven't been able to get the thing, and I'm like, I appreciate that, but don't beat yourself up. Just get on board next time. And so, in order to kind of subside people's alleviates, there's a fat burning thing here. It's real simple. If you guys want to do this, you guys grab a pen. It's easy. Okay. All right. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, and make sure. Okay, here's the problem. Olive oil is not all the same. Just because it says olive oil, believe it or not, it may not even really be olive oil. Yeah. So you got to make sure you're getting good olive oil. Okay, you need the extra virgin olive oil. You need 1 tablespoon, which is not very much, guys. Okay, very much. Okay, then you're going to and then you'll the next ingredient is cayenne pepper.
Okay.
Because casum in the cayenne pepper actually works as a fat burning deal. So and so does, I can go, I know we don't have enough time, but I mean, the oil itself, extra virgin olive oil, is very good for fat loss and stuff like this. It helps facilitate turning visceral fat, which is the white fat, which is like marbling and stuff like that, which is not, it turns it into brown fat, which is your energy fat, so you can burn it up. You can't burn up visceral fat. It has to turn into brown fat and turn into a usable fat in order for you to get rid of it. Okay.
Isn't extra virgin olive oil also a really good anti-inflammatory?
Yeah. And antioxidant. Yeah, it has a lot of great stuff in it. I mean, there's tons of good stuff for it, why you want to do that. So you take 1 tablespoon of that. You take...
how much of the cayenne?
Pepper. Okay, you want to start off with... Okay, so you work your way up to about 1/8 of a teaspoon, okay? All right, but you want to start off just easy with some flakes at first because it may be a little harsh on your stomach, okay? All right, and then you want to take lemons. You want to take a whole lemon and squeeze the lemon in the juice because, again, lemon juice... antioxidant, vitamin C, also very good for dealing with fat and certain blood issues. And then you're going to take a little bit of honey, raw honey. You want to make sure it's raw, natural honey. All right. And mainly, there's really not enough. Use a couple of drizzles in it. It's not enough really to have the medicinal purposes of honey. It's mainly so you don't, it kills some of the taste.
So you can get it down.
Yeah, so you can get it down. So you use those 4 things, okay? All right? Again, real quick, it's 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, 1 lemon squeezed out like that, 1/8 of a teaspoon, not tablespoon, teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Again, I would start off with maybe half that at first, all right? And then a little bit of honey in there like that. You mix it up and shoot it, and you take it just before you have a meal.
Okay.
And you could take it on an empty stomach, but it can be hard on some people's gut. So I always tell people take it just before they eat.
Sure.
That way it'll help do its stuff, and it'll help with reduce. It'll help lower your body fat.
That's awesome. And if you over the holidays, you're around family or whatever, you got 30 minutes to work out. Maybe it's really cold outside. Are you recommending people jump on the treadmill, or are you telling people let's do push-up
time?
Yeah.
Yeah, your best bet to
strength training,
Tabata type training, which is a time type training. That's what if you go to our website, Mezger Systems, and then you get on thing, you'll see that there's some workouts, and they're all basically Tabata based type. I mean, they're not the 20 seconds, 10 seconds because most of them I do is 30 and 30, 20 and 20, like that. But really, yeah, you want to keep things that keeps your body moving, and you want things that are going that are strength oriented. And
I would assume that as a client of Mezger Systems, I could come to you and be like, "Yo, I got a pretty bum knee here, so running and doing hit sprints and shit that's kind of out for me till I drop 20 or 30 pounds." You would be directing me toward, well, let's work on these types. Let's do some strength training. Let's do some of this. Let's get your output up.
Yeah, there's going to be things you're going to do. I mean, the problem is with most people is they got an injured knee. They think, okay, well, I can't do squats. Well, that's exactly what you need to do. Yeah. You got to do hair of the dog. I mean,
knees over toes guy.
Yeah, well, you got to be, conscientious that you're not hurting yourself with it. Okay, you take it easy, and you can just have a lot of assist when it comes to it. But yeah, you need to be moving. Okay, movement is the number one thing. As we get older, what we don't do is move. What do old people do?
Sit around.
Exactly.
And get
and
real
they go
sedentary.
Old and die.
If you had all this technology back when you were in your prime, so you could test your levels, you knew what you knew now about the medical field, fitness, strength, all of that. Do you think that it would have extended your careers? Okay, let's take injuries out of it, but do you think you could have gotten another couple of years, or do you think you got about as far as your body was going to let you go? Because injuries
I could have gone more. I could have gone farther if I wanted to. I was just done.
Were you kind of bored of it when you were done?
Bored might have been the word. I mean that might have been one of the descriptions. But to be honest, man, I was just tired of the problem with the fight business is not the fighting, it's the business. And it just wears your soul out. I mean, literally, it wears my soul out more than the actual fighting. And so, yeah, I was done. You know what I mean? It was like one of those situations where I was done.
Game over.
Yeah.
Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining us for the JESS MARSHALL podcast live this time. Thank you to Guy Mezger for the sequel. Y'all reach out to Guy and Force with 2 R's at MezgerSystems.com. Let's get fit. Let's get stronger for 2023. Take some of that advice, and we're going to repeat that. We're going to repeat that recipe at the end.
If you go to oh, you mean the fat burning one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, guys, y'all can go to Mezger Systems. This will also be posted on. I'll make a video of this formula in the next week or two.
I'll share the shit out of that.
Guy Mezger PhD, Facebook Guy Mezger PhD. Yep. That's my professional number like this. But okay, so real quick, guys, what you're going to do is you're going to do a 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Okay, you're going to take a drizzle of honey and 1 lemon, squeeze 1 full lemon juice in there like that. You just mix it together, and it'll make like this much, guys. I mean, we're talking not that much. It takes about that much. You're going to do
shot of alcohol.
Yeah, and you're going to just bang it
right before you have a big meal,
before you eat.
Thank you guys for joining us. Remember, if you know somebody who wants to talk about living a passionate DIY life, you can email me anytime, live@autographconstruction.com, or inbox me on Instagram at Jess from the Northwest. Let's get out there and have awesome holidays. We'll talk to y'all soon. Hey, what's up? Thanks for checking out my videos here on the JESS MARSHALL YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for sure. Hit that bell. Press that button to watch the next video. If you got a question you have about any of the topics I bring up in the videos, drop a question below, and we'll be sure to get an answer back to you ASAP. See you on the next one.